All right, and we're rolling. Welcome back to another episode of the podcast. I'm Rory, and today in the studio I have Mannan.
Thanks for having me. It's an honor.
Yeah, dude, I'm super happy you're here. So the S&P 500 hit all-time highs this week. What do you think?
I think it's just going, and no one knows where it's going. So if anyone who's trading it is straight gambling as of right now.
Yeah, it's definitely a speculative market. We're definitely in a position where no one wants to miss out on the rally, and no one wants to lose everything in the crash, of course.
Yeah, I feel like people are definitely chasing the highs rather than speculating where the highs could go, because it's like you said, it's reached all-time highs. There's no telling where it's gonna go. Best thing to do would be like wait for a correction, and definitely like a major correction, not just like a daily correction,
like a Corona correction.
Yeah,
like the 35% decline in March.
That happens over a span of a month at least.
I mean, I just don't see it crashing anytime soon.
Yeah, I mean, like we talked about earlier, if the correction was to come, I would say it would come maybe in like the next 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the presidential election might have something to do with it. I wouldn't be surprised if it did.
Definitely.
So, who knows?
Yeah, I think that's for sure going to impact it. But I don't know. I feel like Biden could be strong for markets. So also, I don't really know.
Yeah,
it's all going to be how banks react. And
exactly. It is about how banks react, because they're the biggest players in the markets, right? They're controlling the most amount of money. So anything they do is going to move the market significantly.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to know the outcome of that move before anyone else does.
Well, so they think they do.
Yeah, so they think they do. I mean, they're definitely going to lose money because they're going to be most likely hedging in both directions.
Mm-hmm.
But
well, yeah, typically
they're going to know which way they're more likely to be swayed. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So you're a currency trader, correct?
Yeah, currency, commodities, and indexes. So like a little bit of S&P, US 30. But
so are you buying derivatives, or are you just your...
So in the United States, derivatives have been banned, right?
No, they're well, I don't know about... when I was saying derivatives, I was referencing options.
Oh, okay. So that's the thing. So options is like the United States version of contract for difference or derivatives.
Yeah.
So like those were banned in, I think, I don't know exactly when they were banned, but they were banned a long time ago because a lot of people were losing their money too quickly trading derivatives and differences. So in order for you to trade derivatives, you have to do options, but
Mm-hmm.
you can go to offshore broker that's unregulated, and you can definitely trade through there.
So, but like I said, so when you're trading currency pairs, like, are those options?
No. So I'm trading the difference. So it's a CDF contract, CFD, contract for difference. So I'm basically trading a contract that mimics the actual currency.
Okay. That seems similar to options, though.
It is.
I just don't know.
It is similar to options. It's just options doesn't offer you that much leverage, but it does offer you leverage, which other markets don't.
Yeah, dude, the currency world freaks me out.
It gets my heart going.
Like, how is value determined across? Like, all of that really blows my mind. Like, we went from just collecting gold coins to like where we are now, which is bewildering.
Yeah.
But I mean, although I'm not saying it's unfounded, it's really cool to me.
Yeah, it's definitely the market's definitely move in a cycle. So like, gold used to be the standard, and when gold is doing good, your currency is doing good. But now it's quite opposite. It's like when USD is doing bad, gold is doing good. So
why is that?
Well, when people are scared that the United States dollar is doing poorly, they're going to move their money out of the banks into assets that are called safe havens, such as gold, silver, potentially oil.
Gold recently crossed like $2,000 an ounce, I believe.
Yeah,
right.
If you had asked me if the gold was going to go that high at the beginning of this year, I wouldn't have predicted this, but over the time, it was meant to happen, the way gold has been moving.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely don't understand that either, the way gold is priced and how all that even works.
Yeah, so...
Like, isn't gold, like, stored in people's vaults? Like,
that's the thing. There's reserves all around the world. And there's also certain countries that influence the price of gold specifically. Like Australia is one of the biggest suppliers of gold. And basically, anytime the Australian currency is doing good, so is gold. And if gold is doing good, the Australian currency is doing good. So there are certain correlations in the market with certain currencies and the safe havens. Whereas the United States dollar has nothing to do with gold. We ditched the golden standard a while ago. So now the tables have kind of flipped on us, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's another thing, that the U.S. dollar has no backing. I always think...
Which is, it's horrible. I
think that's horrible.
Yeah,
really.
It is horrible. I think there's going to be something done about that soon.
Really? Why?
Yeah. I mean, just look at how volatile the currencies are right now. I mean, if you look at it, certain currencies are ranging for the past week in 100 pips, which is like 100 points, let's just say. And there's basically no price movement.
How much fluctuation is 100 pips? You know, because I know it's very decimal based.
Yeah, so for each pair...
Is that like a percent? Is that like, is it 2%? Like, what is...
So...
Can it not be quantified in percents?
It can, only to the amount of risk you're taking per pip.
Okay.
So if I'm risking 1% per pip, then...
Is this 1% of your portfolio or your position? Is that
1% of your portfolio? Yeah, your entire account.
Wow, so that's how that works.
Yeah, but I would never risk 1% of my entire account on one pip.
Because then once 100 pips comes up, that's 100% of your account value.
And you're done.
Wow, that would be.
But that's also where like leverage comes into play.
100%.
So like we were talking about earlier with options and over the shore brokers, aka unregulated brokers who allow you to trade CFDs. Mm-hmm. Options will only leverage you out maybe 10 to 20 times what you put in, I think, if I'm not mistaken, probably even less than that. Whereas if you're trading the contract for difference with offshore brokers, they allow you to leverage 1 to 100 to 1 to 500. Now, just because you're leveraged $500 for each dollar that you give the broker doesn't mean that you have to use all of that money, right?
Of course.
You can use it almost in your advantage to have a good amount of margin in the markets without using it all. So like when you go into a trade, you have margin and then you have free margin.
My question is, do they make you put up a certain amount of money before you get this margin?
No. Well, each broker has a minimum that you can deposit, but usually...
Because my question is, what if you're leveraged like crazy and your trade goes poorly?
You'll get margin called.
Of course, but from an offshore broker, like, are they going to send hitmen to your house? Like, how are they getting that money back? You know what I mean?
What do you mean? If my trade goes poorly, the broker makes money.
Yes, but not if they lent you money for the trade. Because that's what at least for, at least if I'm not misunderstanding it, like you get margin from the broker.
Leverage,
right?
yeah.
Leverage. Well, it's called margin as well. So
yeah,
and then you trade on margin, right? So let's say I don't know,
margin,
for simplicity's sake, like let's say you have $5,000 in the account and you're leveraged whatever you are, but you happen to take another 5 on top of it. So you take a $10,000 bet and you only really have 5,000, let's say,
right?
And the trade goes poorly. You're left with $0. What happens then?
Your trade will basically what happens is that
they're going to call for their money, but what I'm saying is how are they going to get it if it's not like a regulated institution where they could send it off to a creditor and get your credit report?
So basically what they'll do is they'll just freeze your account and any other account you have with them. Mm-hmm. So you won't be able to withdraw funds from your other accounts until you pay back the amount that you have owed, So it's a tricky thing, but it's very unlikely to happen because the broker, like I said, will margin call you before your account goes to zero.
Facts.
So he will cut the trade for you as soon as you are left with like 20% margin.
Gotcha.
Because
when they see the trade went poorly.
Yeah.
And then they're going to take your entire 5. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I didn't think they'd let it go to 0, but just for argument's sake. Yeah, dude, that's scary. I feel like I just couldn't do currency because of that, because it's just... Like, I saw the other day that the Prime Minister of Japan resigned, like Shinzo Abe, because of health reasons, and like that, sent the U.S. dollar plummeting in compared to the yen, like as a pair.
It did, and that's pretty surprising. Like, if you were to ask me, I would think that the opposite was going to happen. But this is what happens with fundamentals. Like when fundamentals come out, people are speculating one thing, and then sometimes the exact opposite thing happens.
Seriously, like
it's very hard to be on the right side of fundamentals.
It's a lot of really deep understanding. And I think a lot of it's also being lucky, like just being in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, definitely a lot of like macroeconomics involved with perfect timing for sure.
Like something I saw was really cool is there's this dude on Reddit who I think he made this website called Quant. I'll put a link in the description, but it's a really cool website. I think you should check it out. I think you really like it.
What is it about?
So it's this whole website. I'll show you right now, but it's literally they track all this data that would normally get lost on you, and they compile it really nicely. So like one of the things that the guy put on Reddit that I thought was really, really cool was he built a data collection, like an algorithm that it tracked private plane bookings and private plane takeoffs and landings from the FAA. And he tracked one where it was the Occidental Petroleum's, there's just an oil company that's, I don't know where they're based, but their private jet took off and landed in Omaha, Nebraska. And anyone who knows anything knows that that's like Warren Buffett's town. So 2 days later, Berkshire Hathaway makes a $10 billion investment in Occidental Petroleum. And people who are watching the flight data would have known that. And he built this whole thing to check. It's super cool.
Yeah, I mean, that's like to a certain degree, that's just like, what would you consider that? Like inside trading to a certain degree?
No, because that's public information.
Yeah,
but
it's
FAA,
it's not accessible to just the public though. Or is he releasing this data to other people?
And you have to look for it though.
Right.
Obviously, they're not putting it on the internet, but you gotta hunt for it.
Definitely.
But yeah, dude, the market analysis because the thing is banks have been doing that for 25 years.
More than that.
Yes, and they pay millions of dollars for information like that. To be compiled for them like that.
Definitely.
Those deals happen overnight, so you have to really make it work. But I just thought that was really cool.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. That's pretty crazy that
you also get to see all the U.S. senators and their trades.
Oh, really?
And they rank them by return, so you get to see who's had the highest who's had the highest stock return as a U.S. senator. It's a really cool website. I'm really glad they set it up, and you can also see pollutions of S&P 500 companies by state and by city.
Interesting.
Really, just very descriptive. It's really cool data building.
I mean, anything that will give you insight on the macroeconomics, even the microeconomic side of things, will definitely give you an edge on the markets.
A lot of it is just, in my opinion, not too heavily based on deep analysis. Like, for example, something that's coming out recently is that Walmart and Microsoft are teaming up to buy the U.S. Side of TikTok. And it doesn't take a genius to tell you that if you buy in before that deal happens and it ends up happening, the stocks will go up. And so, I mean, then the whole risk of it is the deal doesn't happen. But it's like, okay, then you're left back holding. No, but it's not the wrong end because you own Walmart and Microsoft stock.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like 2 weeks later, you could sell at a profit.
True.
Just if it's not profiting the next day for whatever reason.
It would be more of a long-term hold than a short-term gain. Definitely.
That definitely doesn't seem like a problem, though.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like investing is tricky. You have to, some people come into the markets with the idea that, okay, I want to make X amount of money in X amount of time. And then if they don't make that money in that amount of time, they'll just pull their money out rather than waiting maybe a year, letting it sit there. And who knows, their money probably would have done a lot better than they even thought.
Yeah, investing is definitely not an overnight thing. And anyone who's good at it will tell you that.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where if you just buy and never sell, and maybe you don't pick the best ones all the time, but a really good saying I like is the best stock traders get 6 out of 10 picks correct.
Well, that's true. I mean, some of them even get 50-50, right? It's just that their win rewards are bigger than their losses. And that's a pretty cliche thing to say in the markets because you never know how much you're going to make in a day. You can aim for 4 times what you're risking, but you never know if you're going to make that, right? So what it really trickles down to is risk management. It's worrying about the downside that you can endure rather than the upside that you are inevitably going to get if you're on the right side.
I definitely need to do that more.
Yeah, no.
I lose way too much money.
It's something that I feel like you have to experience it in order to have your own wake-up call,
Yeah, definitely.
You're going to lose $1,000 and you're going to be like, fuck it, just $1,000. Then you're going to lose maybe $6,000 in a matter of a month and you're going to be like, damn, I need to tighten up. And, you know, some people tighten up and some people, they have to lose another $6,000 to have that second realization. And so, yeah, it's definitely a big psychological battle just as much as it's a battle against like 100%. The market makers.
I'm glad you brought that up because a lot of investing is psychology.
Yeah.
Like I said, if you just buy and never sell, because it's so hard to watch the stock market tumble and be like, oh, I didn't take my gains, you know? But if you just, it's like, oh, and I like to think of it that the stock's like at a discount now whenever it's a red day, which always hurts because like my account will be negative and I'll be like, oh, but it's just a discount day.
Well, definitely. Like I that's what the institutional traders think as well. Like when a pair in the currency exchange is selling off, it's not that they think that it's just crashing. That's where they're buying, right? So they're getting the good prices. And rather than buying at the top, they're waiting for that pullback and then buying slowly at every trough that they can catch.
That's what really happened this March with the whole pandemic and the stock market. People just sold their entire positions at a loss only to then have the entire stock market revive itself and hit all-time highs.
And do better, You
want to hear some crazy, like Kelly Loeffler, who is the senator in Georgia, her and Richard Burr sold all their stocks in like February after a Senate intelligence meeting about the pandemic.
See, that's just...
So that's insider trading because that's not public information. And of course, there's like no penalties. And even crazier connection is that her husband is the president of the Intercontinental Exchange, which is the parent company of the New York Stock Exchange.
And
so think about her telling him, you know, and it's like, I don't think we get to see his stock trades publicly.
No, that's mind blowing.
And, you know, and then my favorite thing is they buy in back at the bottom, you know, and they make all the money again.
Well, yeah, exactly. So what they're doing is that they're selling at a price where they're taking a loss, but then buying back at the bottom when most people are afraid to buy because they just took such a big loss. The big guys are buying back.
They're ramping up again.
Yeah, and that's what it is. Like, I mean, just last week, this investor account I'm working on took a 7% hit, and guess what? Had I just held that 7% drawdown, I would have been up probably 14% now.
Oh, that's the worst.
You know?
That's the worst.
And it's like, that goes back to just risk management. Like, I could have done that, but it could have also tanked another 30%. 30%,
of
right?
course. I think the flip side of that's even worse, to be honest, where you're up 14%, you don't close the position, and it tanks down 7%, and then you're forced to be like, oh,
yeah.
So I definitely need to cancel.
There's a lot of times that's happened to a lot of people, and even myself. But one question I would definitely ask myself in moments like that is, if I'm risking 7% and I'm already up 2 times as much, is it worth risking like blowing the entire trade out the waters?
No, for sure.
Than just taking the 14%, right?
Like Warren Buffett says, I've made so much money selling early.
Yeah, and that's why people make money, is because they sell early. And I feel like a lot of my trades, I sell definitely early. If I'm buying, I'll definitely sell my position out early, but I secured a safe amount of profits, you know? It's like, greed is definitely not going to help you in the markets.
Yeah, dude, like you said, the psychology of it is just, it's intense.
Yeah.
Because it's really hard to not get greedy, and it's also really hard not to be concerned about like a failing position.
Definitely, yeah.
And also, like whenever my account goes red, I always like, you know, I could say, oh, I should buy the stock because it's a good price and I know it is.
Yeah.
But the psychology of look at all the 4 bad trades you're looking at before you
and
then you're doubting that 5th one. You're like, is it worth it? And then the next day you would have killed that position. Yeah. But you didn't enter because you were concerned about your mishaps beforehand.
Right.
That's why it's like, if you just stay laser focused and you're just focused on 6 out of 10, that's like my goal. Is I always try to write down my 10 trades and see if the 6 did hit, because it's important to try to like maintain that.
But that's the thing. Like, if you are concerned about your trade, like if you're in 4 trades, right, and you're suffering drawdown from each trade, and now you're trying to enter the 5th one, instead of worrying about re-entering, you probably should have worried about managing your risk and just cutting the positions out so you could re-enter fully at a better price, right?
But a lot of them, like, I'll give you a good example. Like this, in early June, I bought into Anheuser-Busch, which is that beer company. Mm-hmm. They own Stella Artois.
Got it.
They used to own the Modelo Group, but they sold to another, like, Constellation Brands, I believe. They own, you know, all these, obviously all the Bud Lights, Natty Lights. They're a huge beer company.
Wow.
They're worth like $100 billion or something like that. But So I bought into this company thinking it's and I was making so much money because I was like it had run up and I got greedy and I bought even more and the whole market tanked.
Right.
And it was such a sizable position that I couldn't just sell for a loss because I was like,
yeah,
I don't want to lock in this $1,000 loss if it's totally going to come right back.
Right.
So I was forced to hold and like you have to watch your account slowly climb. And inevitably I did profit, but it's like it took like a month and a half instead of 4 days.
Right. So you went into the markets thinking that it was going to be a short-term strategy, right?
Yeah.
So then you have to stick to that. That's one thing that I have troubles with too. It's like I'll go into the markets and I'll risk a good amount of money and go into a short-term bias, but then I'll be making money on the currency and it'll be rallying, and then I'll get greedy and not take profits, and then on top of that enter another position, and now all of my positions are in drawdown, and now I'm too scared to close.
Yeah, for sure.
So you have to remind yourself that like, okay, I came into this market as a short time trader, so I'm gonna take what I can get and get out.
The money is there for the dudes who are there for the long term.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It has nothing to do with, because it's just, if you just buy companies and never sell, like think about the innovation and growth we're going to see from the 4 biggest tech giants. To think that the best is yet to come, like to think that the best is already here and there's nothing left to be done, you're crazy. Right? Like there'll be a day when Amazon won't have warehouse workers. It will just be straight robots. And what will that do to profits in the company? And also, there, less people getting injured in warehouses. So it's literally just a benefit to society because you remove a job, but then also we need to make sure that Amazon doesn't run away with all this money. You know what I'm saying? So there definitely needs to be checks and balances on that.
Yeah. That is true.
I don't know. It's just one of those things where if you're in the markets for long term and you just pick these companies that are going to do well, man, like, like I said, if you're just looking at the top 10 most valuable companies,
right?
Some of them stick around. Yeah. It usually changes decade to decade.
I mean, if you look at US 30, it's known to just rally all the fucking time, right? It took a big
Who's on the US 30? Is that
the top 30 companies that are traded on the stock exchange?
Because I don't think, maybe I could be wrong. Is this like the... One second, let me look it up to make sure I'm not confusing it.
I couldn't tell you exactly which companies are on there. I should know that, but I know it's just the top 30.
Intel, Apple, IBM, Pfizer, JP Morgan, Microsoft, Walmart.
Yeah.
So it's, you're right.
Lines.
Gotcha.
And then, S&P is just the 500
top
companies. So they move, those two indexes move pretty similar, but I would say S&P is definitely less volatile because it has more of an average. It's like 500 different companies averaged together rather than just 30. So it definitely moves less volatile. But if you're seeing the S&P rally, you might as well buy the US 30 as well.
Yeah, the S&P is known to just be the best returner of stocks over time. That if you don't know what to buy, that's what you're supposed to buy.
Exactly.
It's supposed to be the ironclad investment because you're just betting on the best 500 companies the United States has to offer.
Right.
Something I think it's cool is I don't think it's happened yet, but Tesla's supposed to join the S&P 500.
I'm sure they're gonna make it there.
They sure, but the what's very notable about that is that the S&P 500 is in a lot of retirement accounts. So all the buyers you'd be gaining from joining the S&P 500, like right now they have a lot of retail and institutional, and obviously every investor under the sun. But as soon as they enter those retirement accounts, right, the investment platform like changes.
I see.
Yeah, it's gonna be that that'll be a nice green day for Tesla when that's announced, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
And so overvalued right now though.
Yeah, I remember.
It's the 8th most valuable company in the world right now.
Yeah, that's crazy. I don't know why it's not on the S&P already.
You're right, but the thing is they only make like 100,000 cars a year, or deliver rather.
Right.
So although not to discredit them whatsoever, they have a beautiful they produce a really nice product.
Oh yeah, I love their cars. Definitely, that's gonna be my next purchase. Tired of driving myself around.
Dude, autonomous vehicles, I'm super excited for that.
That's the wave. Yeah, that's definitely the wave. I mean, people are skeptical, but that's definitely where we're headed.
I mean, it'll save so many lives too.
Definitely, yeah. It's the algorithms that they're going to be running on are going to be smart enough to prevent crashes. And
they'll also be communicating with each other on the roads.
Exactly,
so it's all very...
Yeah, multiple autonomous cars can kind of communicate as a pack in traffic. Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, man, so I don't know. I'm glad that I have you on here today because
me too.
Is important.
Me too. I'm super excited to be here. There's a lot of things we need to talk about.
I know. I want you to get into it.
Let's see. So, I mean, I guess like a lot of people know about Forex, and it'll be fun to kind of talk about the multi-level marketing side of things. And
wait, for those of you who don't know, can you explain like what Forex is? Because there are people who are watching that are not aware of it.
Forex basically stands for foreign exchange markets, right? So what you do when you're trading in Forex, it's similar to the stock market, but instead of buying stocks and you're trading the value of certain companies, you're buying currencies and you're trading the value of those currencies compared to other currencies. So in Forex, you have a base currency, for example, which will be like the United States dollar. And then you have a quote currency that's compared to it, which, like you said earlier, would be the Japanese yen, like with the USD JPY pair. So when you're trading the currencies, you're basically buying the USD and then selling one at the same time. And then when you're exiting your position, you're basically doing the inverse of that. So you're making the difference between those two currencies. So for example, like if USD does good, then JPY is going to do bad because they're compared together, right? Obviously, both pairs can't be doing good.
Why not?
Because it's so
like just because you bought the pair, you know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to say that doesn't make sense. I'm trying to understand that. So like, why could you buy the euro and the dollar and have them both do well, or that just does not happen?
That just does not happen because these currencies are quoted against other currencies in the markets that are not correlating to them. So like when USD is doing
good,
so
one is just has to do better than the other,
right? Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So USD is like, for example, like we were talking about the guy resigning from China.
Yeah, the prime minister of
Japan. Yeah. So when he resigned, USD took a pretty big hit, but in a sense, JPY gained power while USD took hits. Because now if you use $1 to get a 1.5 yens, now if it's cheaper to get that same amount of yens, you're basically making money because USD took a hit.
You're taking the profits off the difference.
Right.
So how did you get started in all this? Because this is super complicated. Like I don't imagine you were just on YouTube one night and someone's like, get rich quick on currencies. Like was it like that or
that's a lot of what you see, and like that's like the multi-level marketing scam and like the IML scam that we're definitely gonna get into. But basically, like my interest of trading in general began in Beach High. You know, when we were going to school together, and I'd hear a lot of kids talking about paper trading.
What is that?
Paper trading, like just demo trading.
Oh
like
yeah,
trading,
with fake
like,
money.
Fake money.
Gotcha.
And I remember a lot of kids in my Spanish class were trading paper trading, so kind of just like piqued interest at it, but didn't really know too much about it. And then eventually, when I went to college and started doing business, I started taking like macro and microeconomics classes. So that kind of like really like fueled my interest in supply and demand and how things just like affect one another. So basically on my off time from school, I looked into trading. So at first I actually wanted to trade stocks because that's what I knew you could trade. I didn't really know about options or Forex or commodities even.
Gotcha.
So eventually after paper trading stocks, because you need a huge account to even trade. You need you don't need a huge account, but you need a huge account to have like a actual brokerage account rather than.
Are you talking about stocks?
Yeah.
I started with like $300.
But you started on Robinhood, right?
Robinhood, yes.
Yeah. So
not an institutional platform.
Right. Yeah. Sure. So like, in order for you to trade with an institutional platform or like a regulated broker, you definitely need.
There's a minimum. Yeah.
Yeah. You definitely need a good amount of money, and then in order for you to take more than 3 trades a week, you need like $25,000.
No, that's 3 trades in one day.
Oh.
So yeah, so those are day trades. You can buy and sell. Like if I buy Monday, I can sell Tuesday, no penalty. It's only when I buy Monday, sell Monday
and then
that's again. 1 strike.
Yeah.
So then it's like if you buy Monday, sell Monday, right after that, that's 2 strikes. And then let's say you cool down and like Wednesday you do it again, you buy. Then they'll give you a warning. Mm-hmm. And then I think if you do it 5 times, they say do it one more time, I dare you. And I did it one more time, I dare. Like they banned me for like 90 days. So I've had that happen.
I feel like the regulators in the markets are definitely pretty funny. They kind of behave after you've already done it. You know,
it's for your benefit though.
Yeah,
the reason they don't allow day trading for people who don't have 25,000 is you're gonna lose your money.
Yeah.
Because you're betting against the house.
Yeah,
you know?
And you're probably gonna invest in like penny stocks, which are just like pump and dumps.
Yeah, exactly. So they don't want to just steal money from
Yeah.
kids who don't know what they're doing.
Right. Yeah.
But also, like, they've opened up like fractional shares now, so you could literally open a Robinhood account for $1 and buy stocks. Like, you could buy Apple with $1. Clearly, you wouldn't make any money. Yeah. But the idea that just it's all about starting, right? Like getting that mindset of I have an account where I can like buy stocks.
Yeah. That's pretty interesting. I don't know what real benefits you would get out of buying $1 of Apple.
Well, it's not.
I feel like it would probably benefit the market more than it benefits you.
It's more about benefiting the broker because they just want an extra customer. Because I know you're far more likely to deposit if you even exist as a customer.
Right. Yeah. It's definitely going to be interesting to talk about brokers and all
so talk about tactics. MLMs and IMLs. I want to hear you talk about that because I don't know. I didn't have much experience. I've never heard of IML before this.
So, I mean, you've probably seen like a lot of those Forex ads on Instagram. Maybe you haven't, but I see them
It's
every
the ones
now
with
and
the
then.
charts, right?
Yeah, it's like, it'll be like a lady's face like next to a chart and like some profits. And she'll be like, oh, give me a $200 fucking, I don't even know, dude. It's so crazy. It's like, I don't know how people fall for this shit. So it's basically like they charge you like an annual fee of like $200, and then on top of that you're paying like $100 a month, and they basically teach you like nonsense. You know, it's basically just.
Are you like showing up to like a Zoom call and learning about?
Exactly, it's like a Zoom call with 1,000 fucking people, and you're just like heard it in the fucking chat.
Do they tell you what to trade and how to trade it, or?
Yeah, they'll probably. I mean, I've never had experiences with them. I know people who have, but they'll give you trades and they'll call trades for you. But
do they work, or are they just like just as good as the next guy? Yeah. Right, exactly.
I mean, you're better off just selling and buying and holding for 5 days on your own. Just do whatever the fuck you want, than like following IML. To be honest.
So how much money do you need to get into like one of these like little like what do they ask for? Like after you've paid your little 300, what's the next step?
Oh, they'll ask you, oh, do you have an extra $50? If you do, start an account. Let's get to cracking. That's what it is. You know, as long as they have their money, that's what they care about. And then whatever you have left over, put that in a trading account and help you blow it, basically.
So you got started in a more legitimate way then.
I never did IML or any multi-level marketing or anything like that. Basically, like how I got started is I just started YouTubing things about, because I knew nothing, literally nothing. Like you could ask me about anything and I would know nothing, literally. So I basically started YouTubing and figuring out the questions that I knew I had to ask myself. Like, okay, what is trading? Like, what is liquidity? What is volatility? Like, what is buying and selling? Like, buying high, what's buying low? So simple things like that kind of just like got the ball rolling, and eventually like I just started doing more and more research, gathering like more.
And was this for just stocks? Like were you learning the fundamentals of just stock trading, or was this for strictly with currency?
This was strictly with currency, but I mean like once you, like all of these markets are the same.
You're not wrong.
Like
yeah, a lot of the skills carry over.
Like the markets are very fractal in nature, you know? Like,
for sure.
It's like a lot of the things that you see in the stock markets, I'm sure you'll see them in the foreign exchange markets. I'm sure you'll see them in the options market, in the commodities market, in the index market. So it's not like you learn how to trade currencies and you can't trade stocks, or you learn how to trade stocks and you can't trade currencies. Definitely there's different aspects of the markets that you have to like tweak your strategy to, but overall it's the same skill set. But yeah, at first I started learning how to trade stocks, and then eventually got into currency because of the fact that the brokers offer you leverage and allow you to make more money short term than you would with stocks. You know, like with a stock you have to hold it for a week to maybe make like a couple $100 profit,
depending on what your principal is,
and depending on what equity you're playing with, right? But in my case, I could be trading for a day or 2 days and make like a couple $100 profits using low risk, because the brokers.
But again, what's the principal? Like $100 is what's that return? Like what's the percent return on that?
Oh, $100 would be like at least like.
Like, are you betting 1,000 to make the $100?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's about 10% returns.
Yeah. I mean, it depends. If it's $1,000, then it would be 10%. If I'm using like a bigger account and just using very low risk, then it would be like probably like anywhere from like 2 to 3% to 10%. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, so you're just trading, swing trades, just like buying in on the rallies and selling at the top and stuff.
Yeah.
So how much were you starting out with like a few thousand, or was it just like $500 to even like get started? Like,
so when I first started,
is there an account minimum for Forex?
No. I mean, your broker will probably like do a minimum of $10,
Gotcha.
Just so you can go blow your $10, have fun with it. I don't really know how
the first one's free usually. I find that everyone I introduce to derivatives does really well the first time.
Oh yeah.
And then I laugh. I'm like, don't get used to that.
The broker
don't
gives
get used
you
to
a little treat for joining. Definitely.
Yeah, seriously, the first one's
feels
free.
like that. It feels like that for sure. So I basically started with $1,000 account. So I was basically paper trading, demo trading until I basically decided that, okay, I'm ready to just
take the risk.
And
gotcha.
Back then for me, $1,000 account was suitable. That's what I was willing to risk. I basically had $4,000 to my name, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna risk $1,000, see what that does. If I blow this $1,000, then I have $3,000 more to just kind of cycle through. And I ended up blowing 2,000 out of that 4,000 before I made like any actual gains.
Really?
Yeah.
So you had to take a quite a sizable hit before you.
Yeah, I mean, like. So
you must have been learning from all your
definitely
mishaps.
I mean, it wasn't like I just lost money. I definitely made. I took that $1,000 account that I initially had into 2,000 and then into 3,000, and then over time I would just like I just blew that account with poor risk management.
Oh, so you got too greedy, kind of like what we were discussing,
exactly.
Where you were so it was kind of the opposite. You were getting too many. Like I said, the first one's free,
yeah.
So you think you're the king of the stock market, and then it comes for you.
You've just entered in the markets, right? Stock markets or foreign exchange markets. You've just entered. Take a couple trades. You're winning. You feel like you're on top of the world. That you know what everybody doesn't know. So it doesn't really work like that.
Feeling like you're on the inside.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting. It was definitely a big learning experience, making all that money and then blowing it just as quickly, if anything quicker.
Yeah, it's definitely tough. Like I said, it's all psychology.
Yeah.
So just you just have to keep believing in yourself.
Yeah, definitely.
Something that I was like really annoyed with when I first started options, because I haven't really ever traded currencies. I don't really have experience with that, but I've definitely traded options before.
Yeah.
And options, for those of you who don't know, it's just kind of like you're trading around a piece of paper that says, I want to buy 100 shares of a stock or sell 100 shares of a stock. So you're betting on the piece of paper becoming more valuable.
Right.
Like that's basically it. And you can obviously make money in both directions. Like if a stock goes up, you can make money. If a stock goes down, you can make money, which people don't really think about intuitively, but that's just how it works. And something that really annoyed me is like, I thought that, I'd make these crazy predictions and I'd literally end up with a contract that has zero volume. Nobody on the U.S. stock market is trying to buy what I own right now. Like no one's even in the little chat room of
wow.
And it takes moments, and it happens. Like you just end up with a terrible pick, and volume is zero. Like implied volatility, like it gets me every time, especially when I'm not trading with proper management, like you said. Like if you're buying short-term contracts, like, and you're not being responsible with how you set up the trades, it'll burn you so quickly, although there's the most gains to be had from the riskiest trades. And that's what keeps like the addiction going, you just tell yourself, oh, this could be the next one.
That is true. I feel like being systematic as possible in the markets is definitely like the one thing that will always benefit you. I had a lot of problems with greed because, like I said, in the beginning, I took my accounts. I would take like $1,000 accounts, and I would be doing great, right? Like I'd size them up to 200, not 200%, like 20-30% in a week. And when you're doing that, you think that like you know what you're doing, blah blah blah, and then the greed kind of bites you in the ass. You lose it all, and then that, like you said,
you lose it all though.
Well, in my case, I lost like everything but $52.
Wow.
So I was like, okay.
So what stopped you from so is that where you learned to start cutting your trades earlier? Is that what?
And managing my risk, yeah.
Gotcha.
Because
So you'd sit there and watch the trade go from -30 to -55 to -80%, right?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
For sure.
And I wouldn't do anything about it.
It moves quickly, right?
And I was definitely over leveraging, meaning that like I was trading like instead of $1 per pip, I was trading like $10 per pip or $50 per pip.
Wow.
On $1,000 account,
Yeah, that seems incredibly dangerous.
And I made some good money doing that, and I think I got pretty lucky in markets that were just like favorable to go up. Like they were just gonna go up no matter where I fucking bought. So
that's kind of what the stock market has been since like the 2008 crash.
Right.
If you just bought and just held, you're making money.
Like that's the thing, that like volatility has changed since that crash.
In what way?
I mean, before, like
You think markets are more volatile now? I mean, I'm not disagreeing with that. I think so too.
I mean, they are more volatile now, but the volatility is like, it's created artificially more so than ever.
Yeah, dude, like Trump tweets and the market will just
like
rise.
It's not like, okay, like this currency pair or this company is doing good because they've been working their ass off for the past 10 years, right? And like now they just like became the revolutionary in their industry. It's more so like one little deal overnight can make like people millionaires now. And that's just, it's beneficial, but it's also like a lot different than what things were like before, you know? Before things would slowly rise, and now things will rise in a day and then crash the next day.
Yeah, we've just been, the fiscal policy just hasn't really been, it's just been way too, like the growth isn't sustainable. Like anyone who's looking at the S&P 500 graph, like you can just look it up. If you hit the 5-year timeline or the 10-year timeline, you watch the graph go from somewhat linear right after the crash in 2008 to just an exponential curve, like an X squared graph, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, that's dangerous.
Yeah.
Or maybe more like e to the X, but still. It's one of these things where it's not sustainable. And there's real world problems to that though.
Yeah.
Because it causes pollution, it causes poverty. You know, like we're really chasing like GDP off a cliff, so to speak.
And anyone who trades like solely off of GDP is probably like the greediest person in the markets.
It's like
that's everyone. That's
everyone.
That's all.
That's what we're all chasing for is the quarterly GDP growth.
Yeah, and it's pretty crazy because that's where the volatility is coming from now. It's just been so artificially engineered ever since the crash that like things are not only so volatile, but like it's coming from all different types of events. Like you said, Trump can tweet one thing, and next thing you know, USD's rallying for the next week.
I mean, a good example, like most recently, is they held the Republican National Convention, and for practically every day of the convention, the S&P topped new all-time highs, which I thought was kind of like Shakespearean, you know, like the way like it all could be written into play, that like every day they host a night, it just gets higher and higher and higher. Like, well, and it's very uncommon for that to do that. Like when it hits all-time highs, it's very likely to crash the next day slightly and then maybe approach that again, but it consistently went higher and higher and higher times in a row.
I mean, like a pullback of like if it went up 10%, a pullback of 1 to 2% is definitely like inevitable, but it just doesn't happen. It's like these charts are just rallying every month. Like it's pretty insane. They're making new highs every single month without any corrections.
Yeah, and just it's concerning though because it's not like the stock market is distributed evenly, right? Because you have I was showing you the Credit Suisse World Report.
Yeah.
I read there that the top 1% of the world, like the world, so that's every country, maintains 45% of the world's wealth, which is crazy. Which is that means that 99% of the world fights over 55% of the entire world's wealth, which is a huge problem, you know? And then you get even closer, like the 0.1%, like the 1% of that 1%.
Yeah.
You know, those people are controlling huge, like 25%, like crazy portions of wealth.
Yeah.
So I guess the problem with stock market gains is it's not like, oh, everyone's winning. Like, not really, man. Like,
yeah. It's more so the winning is for the guy who could take the most bullshit, you know? It's like these big firms, they can take the hits and like endure 10% drawdown and not freak out and close their positions because they know like in a month this will all just be engineered volatility, you know, like it's just gonna go back up. And yeah, that's what the little guy can't handle, like us, you know. We can't handle things like that.
I mean, I think, like I said, man, just buy and never sell. Because something I also think that's really notable about the stock market and the way wealth is accumulated in this country is that you don't get taxed on capital gains until you sell your position. So obviously tax season is April to April of any year. So if you sell at any point, you're going to be taxed the following April for the gains you may have had.
And aren't you taxed for like long-term gains? Like aren't those considered long-term gains as far as stocks go?
You see, I'm not an expert in tax law whatsoever, but I don't think that there's any added taxes for holding. So what makes that lucrative is there are dudes who buy in, and like for example, imagine if you bought in an Apple 2010, right? Or for example, let's move it even farther. Like when Trump was inaugurated, I'm 90% sure that Apple's market cap was like 450, 500 billion. So not even close to $1 trillion. Like $1 trillion puts you at a double, right? Like you would have doubled your investment. So now Apple's at 2 trillion, which means you would have quadrupled your investment. Now, let me check that math to make sure, but I'm 90% sure that's correct.
And that's in a span of how many years? Like just
3. And so
3 years?
And so here's the thing is you're not taxed year to year. It's only when you sell are you taxed on your gains. So those 3 years you're just holding and accumulating. And they pay you dividends. So you can just take the dividends you get and buy more stock again, and you're not taxed until you sell.
Well, you know what? Like one interesting thing I saw online is this guy talking about how he owns AT&T stocks, and his stocks with the dividends basically pay his phone bill every month, which is pretty cool.
That's
it's like
3D chess.
Yeah, it's 3D chess. Like
AT&T works for you.
Yeah, it's definitely like making your money work for yourself. And it's pretty interesting. Like, I guess he probably invested like $5,000 into AT&T at one point, and like, you know, AT&T's just been doing exponentially well, or not even exponentially well, just like
AT&T has done pretty solid. They've hung around $30. Something that really hindered them was the Time Warner acquisition. They bought that whole movie production company.
Okay.
Time Warner. They're the people who like own HBO, for example.
Right. Okay.
So huge, and you know, Warner Brothers, all that. And that was a huge acquisition, and it hasn't really worked out for them. So like that was something that like kind of hindered AT&T.
So they bought it
outright. It was like it was the huge antitrust deal, and then Disney and Fox merged, and that kind of put that in the shadows. Because Disney spent $71 billion on Fox.
Oh, they have money to blow.
But still, though, like that's so crazy. Like that we allowed that to happen.
Yeah.
Like because they went from having 6 major movie production companies to 4.
Yeah, it's like a duopoly at this point. It's like two big ass companies always merging together, and then
Disney has a really crazy portfolio. Have you ever looked into it?
I have not.
They own
I know you can see all of this online. I should look into it.
They own Hulu, they own ESPN, they own Fox, which is all those derivatives. So it's like, you know, companies like Family Guy, for example, you know, they're making money on those ads. Like it's crazy the way it all like plays together. The whole little, I have a huge problem with that. I think the antitrust in this country.
Definitely, it's. I mean, that's just capitalism for you, right? Like they're gonna do whatever it takes to make the next buck.
But it's like you buy the competitor. Like a good example is like Facebook. Like Instagram came out in like 2006 or something, right? Like 2010, I forget. Yeah. And then 2012 comes along and like Facebook buys them for $1 billion. Yeah. And now Instagram's a $200 billion business. So, you know, and I just think that's kind of concerning to think that they could have been separate entities.
Yeah, and they were for a while, right?
And they were, yeah. And there was a private, And Facebook bought. I mean, one could argue Instagram wouldn't be what it is if Facebook didn't buy them, right? Which I'm totally willing to accept. Yeah, but who also, cares? Yeah,
who cares? It was fine, just fine before them, honestly. But yeah, those are the ways that like these companies definitely create these duopolies, and like that's the same thing in the foreign exchange markets. Like all these banks, like they're all working together.
Oh, for sure.
It's like they're not working against each other. The only the people that they're working against is us.
Yeah, 100%. You know?
They're all working together, and if they're not, then they're working for someone who works for them. It's all just a big web of messiness.
Yeah, 100%. The banks are
the rabbit hole that you don't want to go down.
Yeah, like I remember I was really freaked out when I learned what fractional reserve banking was. Yeah. Like the idea that a bank needs to maintain minimums, but they loan out all of their money and then borrow the money to get the minimum. And then like they make sure the money they're loaning out is at a higher interest rate than the one they're borrowing. And that's how they don't profit. Like, and so they're flipping all their money all the time.
Right. Yeah. So that's one thing I learned in college when I was taking macroeconomics, which is like kind of like, that's like, it's funny that you bring that up because that's really what like sparked that light bulb that like, oh shit, there's a finesse behind this. Oh, you know? Yeah. And when you can understand this finesse, you can definitely eat off of it. Mm-hmm. So I had learned basically that banks are constantly borrowing money 24/7. Like if they stop borrowing money, they're more likely to go bankrupt and stop making money than to like just continue to go on debt. Like they would rather do that and just keep accumulating more borrowed money. So that's what it is. It's like they'll borrow money from a bank for a certain amount of interest rate and then lend it out to someone else for a higher interest rate and make that difference and then just keep doing that again and again and again.
Yeah, but also banks they've also just been really like, for example, in 2008 when all the markets crashed, something I thought was just really, it's just, I don't even know what to think about it because it's so just dystopian, you know? So when everything crashed and everything was, like Lehman Brothers went bankrupt, like all these crazy institutions were on the brink of financial failure, and everyone was just, the economy was devastated. And then Obama takes office, and that's immediately what they're dealt with. Yeah, because it crashed in like September, but things didn't come back. Yeah, it was a
nasty crash.
But they had, I forget what they called it, but I think it was TARP. It was like the something reinvestment plan. And they gave the banks $700 billion. Right. And to be fair, the banks actually paid all of it back with interest. So the government received $750 billion. So the government profited $50 billion off that whole scenario. Right. But the problem with that, though, is the reason all that happened was the housing market crashed because people were taking out mortgages they couldn't pay.
Yeah, AAA mortgages that were just
and they were doing the collective debt obligations. So the problem with that, though, is all those people lost their homes and the banks retook possession. Right. And then as the home value increased, the banks made money with it. So they would take a $200,000, or there would have been a house that someone is paying a mortgage on that would have been $400,000. Right. The market tanks and suddenly the house is worth $200,000, but they can't afford it either. So the bank takes it from them. Now it's worth $200,000 and the bank has down $200,000. They wait 6 years and now the house is worth $800,000. And they did that with 1 million houses. So it's, or more than that, probably millions of houses, and they made people homeless. And it's like, I have a problem with that. Like I don't.
No, like definitely like that market crash definitely changed the way everyone looks at the markets now. It messed us up so much that, like I said, a lot of the volatility has been engineered ever since. Like you can see that all those AAA mortgage loans that all those lenders were writing off were backed up by nothing, right? They were just like fake numbers, lending to anyone, whoever, and lending them the best loan that they could possibly get. And the lenders didn't care about people paying it back as long as they made the money up front. And it's like I said, they do anything for the quick buck.
Yeah, it's greed. And also, like,
but they get away with it. They get away with it.
100%.
And like
because
you said,
they're the institution.
They get bailed out.
And they have the backing of the government. But then, and then another thing that I think is so criminal is that banks, I looked this up, like banks in 2019 made $11 billion in overdraft fees. So the only people who overdraft their accounts are people
who don't have money
Right. So the idea that they're extracting $11 billion when they could be making that fairly on the stock market, which they already do.
Yeah, definitely.
And they're just and it's again, like, there are people who, you have $1 in your account, you spend $2.50 by accident or whatever on gas to get home, like, and then the bank will charge you a $60 overdraft fee. So when you went from having $1, you now have negative $60.
Yeah, I remember one time I went to, when I was a broke college student, and I know we've all been there. I had like maybe $5 in my account or something. And I remember buying some food and completely forgot that like I had to deposit more money into my debit account. And instead of just being like negative $5 because I spent like $10 or something, I was negative like $65, and I was like, what the hell is going on here? Like,
and the banks run away with it and then obviously sometimes you can get it taken off, right? But to think about it, $11 billion gets paid.
Yeah. So at the end of the day,
and it's just and another cool it's another interesting fact is like it was, I read something like 8 or 9% of all account holders at the bank are paying like 90% of that 11 billion. So it's a very small portion of, so it's 10% of the people who are at that bank are paying for the majority of these, which makes sense because it's the people who don't have any money with the bank, which is so like what?
It's fucked, man. Like, it's like, how are you expecting someone to pay you $60 if they don't even have $5 in their account?
I know.
And now you're legally obligated to pay them, or else like your account's shut. You can't open up other accounts.
Or like when your direct deposit comes in from your job, they take it from you. It's like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Like,
they'll freeze your funds.
And the people who that's good for is the shareholders. And it's like, that's where capitalism to me gets a little too far, where it's like people start chasing, like, they need to profit. Like, at what cost, bro? Like, but also it's like, to be fair, I think there's a lot you can do as an individual to prevent that from happening to you. I mean, obviously, circumstances are not the same for everyone, but a good thing that a lot of people don't know is everyone should have a credit card. And not only that, but every purchase you make should be made with a credit card too.
Yeah, I mean, if we're talking about credit cards, I think everyone should have like as many credit cards as they can possibly get, if we're being honest. And most people don't know this, but in order for your credit score to be
existent
and be visible to the people that are lending you the money, you want to have your credit usage underneath 35%. So now if you have one credit card and that's the only credit card you're always using, you're definitely using it more than 35% a month, right?
Like the revolving credit,
right.
You're saying. So, but so long as you pay it off, it's no problem.
Well,
like I've had my cards be maxed out, but so long as like they get their money the day before, it's no concern.
Of course, no concern. But there's no way that doing that will increase your credit score. You know, it might just hold it at the same place.
I think it shows propensity to lend you money, so you gain confidence in the bank. But you're right, I don't think it's good for the credit score.
Right. I mean, that's the thing. Like if the lenders see that you have 35% usage, they're more likely to give you $1 million because they know that you're only going to use 35% of that million.
Yeah, exactly. And you're going to be financially, you're not
right.
just going to end up.
And like credit score really just matters when you're trying to get loans and get approved for like better interest rates.
Buying
and stuff
a
like
house.
That. Buying a house, yeah.
Because buying a house is the source of the majority of wealth for an American in this country.
I mean, like if you buy a house, if you have a credit card, you're participating in the financial market. Like
well,
whether
you don't buy it with the
not.
credit card, but you need the credit card to establish credit.
Right. Yeah, and you need an address to have a credit card, right?
Exactly.
So it's all like a self-perpetuated game, like you said, and I feel like a lot of people don't realize that when they have a credit card, when they're buying a house, like they're already participating in the financial markets, yet they don't even know what the hell they're doing or have a clue about even like the slightest bit of what to be doing in the financial markets. Like a lot of people don't know so much that they should be taught, and we just aren't taught, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like people don't know that. Like so many people have credit cards, but they don't know that. Okay, you should have
functionality of them.
You should have a 35% or less usage or utilization on the card, right?
Yeah, the revolving utilization.
Or some people don't know that they can take one credit card, use it 35%, and then use another credit card 35%, and then if you have, for example, most people have like 4 to 5 credit cards, eventually, right? So the smart thing to do is have one credit card that you use main, and then pay that credit card off with your other credit cards. So you're still utilizing your other credit cards to only that 35%. Mm-hmm. And you're basically building your credit from one credit to another credit. There's a lot
of hidden perks to using credit cards. Like, in the first obvious one is the cashback. Mm-hmm. Like, you get money for spending money with a credit card. And whereas a debit account, you do not.
Right.
Because it's immediately withdrawing from your bank account. Mm-hmm. And another concern I have for people who because I have friends who still use debit cards. I'm always like, hey man, you should totally apply for credit because there's
I use debit cards too.
There's no situation where, but you shouldn't, because I'm listen to this. So whenever you pay with a credit card, a 35 digit code is written for that individual transaction.
Got it.
Right? Whereas when you do it with a debit account, it is as well, but it also communicates your bank information to that individual card reader. So for example, if you go to a gas station and there's one of those skimmers on it, you trade your bank account information when you use a debit, whereas a credit card, there's no bank account attached to it. So the credit card can immediately register the fraud, and you get the money back, in a 2-minute phone call.
Yeah, that's happened.
Whereas with a bank, now they have access to your bank, they can steal your social security, it's very serious. Yeah. So that's why credit cards are not only a monetary game, but it's a security thing as well.
Right. I mean, I mostly just have my debit cards for just pulling out cash.
Yeah, exactly.
But
that's the
credit cards, that's what I'm using at a gas station.
Exactly. Exactly. And you get money for it. There's so many bonuses.
Right. Yeah, you definitely get cash back on a lot of different credit cards, and that's something that you should be
taking
benefit of.
It's literally free money.
It's better than what the bank is going to do for you.
Yeah, and it's also secure, and it's just a good one is Apple Pay. I love Apple Pay because now
I've actually never used Apple Pay.
Dude, you gotta hop on the wave.
Just too lazy. I feel like I'm not that advanced yet.
I'll put you on, bro, because the Apple cards, it's nice, dude. They give you 2% for everything you drop on Apple Pay. So it's
oh wow,
for every 49 cents you pay for something, they put up a cent. So long as you pay it on time, of course. Right. So because that's the way credit cards work, is they take the money from people who aren't paying their bills and give it to the people who are paying their bills. It's such a weird, dynamic. But like I said, fortune favors people who are. They watch their finances. They don't overspend, and they don't, because it's easy to overspend.
It's
so you have to have that discipline.
And that's what they want you to do. That's realistically what the banks want you to do. Yeah. They want you to spend as much as possible, even though it might not be in your best favor or their best favor. They're gonna win at the end of the day, right? So it's a tricky thing. Finances, definitely tricky. I feel like a lot of people should have the right to know more about it, but it's just not taught.
It really does need to be cemented in schools, I think, because it's
people don't know how to pay taxes. People don't know
Yeah, but they know, and it sucks because like you made them sit through a chemistry class,
Right?
and it's like, not to say chemistry's not important, but like, that's not to me as critical as learning how to pay bills, learning how to establish credit, learning how to save money, learning how to invest, like
and how to leverage your identity. Like people don't understand that like you could have $0 to your name, and if you follow a certain amount of steps and do them the right way, you could build yourself pretty quickly.
Yeah, this is land of the free.
Right, exactly, and obviously there's a lot of flaws in our system
and plenty of limitations as well. But if you fight hard enough, you'll get there.
Definitely. Like I know there's this crazy story of this 24-year-old kid who has 80 credit card lines opened underneath his name, and all combined together he has like 60 million in credit. So if tomorrow he wanted to pull out $60 million for an investment deal or whatever the hell, he could do that. Right? And the bank will lend him. It might not be the smartest thing to do.
The problem with that, though, at least from what I'm hearing, is he'd borrow it from a creditor, for example. So let's say somehow someone set up a point of sale purchase for an investment, which would make sense, of course. But say he dropped, I don't know, 60 million, like you said. He has a month to pay them back.
Right.
Yeah. And then, so the problem with that is, like, let's say he wants to hold. It's like the APR on those credit cards is going to destroy him. Like he'll be underwater in 2 months if the return's not there.
But the thing is that like at least he has that option, whereas other people like who've never seen 80 million or like even any large sum of money, like they don't even know that there's a possibility of like things working like this.
It's all about expanding the realms of possibility.
Yeah,
that's why residual income is really important. Like
definitely.
Making money while you sleep. Just buying companies.
That's why the richest people are rich, because they make money when they're not working.
Seriously, man.
And when they're sleeping. So
like I really look up to someone like Jay-Z. Like he was someone who like really noticed that rappers around him were going broke and money management wasn't there. And he's someone who now he's a king. Like the guys, and not only is and it wasn't luck. Like a lot of people be like, oh, he was just this, that, no. It's all of it was very calculated.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like luck can only go so far,
Exactly.
Like, especially in finances, like luck will not take you to statuses like that. Like you might get lucky for a year, but the next year you're going to be humbled, and like luck can really only take you so far.
Yeah, like for example, Jay-Z, I think he was a Series B funder of Uber when it was starting up in New York.
Yeah, I heard about that.
And he dropped like 10 million on a huge risky bet on a car company that, they were set to take on the New York taxi. Like that was not posed to be a good investment. And he ended up clearing like $150 million after Uber went public. I think he sold before that. Like he bought out his position because he didn't want to deal with them as a public entity, which was a genius idea.
Yeah, I mean, why not, right?
But so he cleared like 15 times on a $10 million investment. Like
and he wasn't greedy about it.
Exactly.
That's why he did it.
There you go. And he also owns Tidal. Like he was literally like, these music companies are not paying me what my music is worth. I'm gonna start my own.
Yeah. Is it doing well though? Like
it has like 3 or 4 million subscribers who pay $15 a month. And so the income's there, bro. Like that's serious money. That's $60 million a month income, like revenue. So that's what the close to $750 a year.
That's pretty.
$720 a year.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, so it's like
just off of that.
And and he's also paying his artists more. Like I think you get paid the most when your music is on Tidal.
Right.
And they also have the highest streaming quality, so I think you have to upload the highest possible quality audio to their platform to even be acknowledged as an artist. So they won't take your stuff if it's not good quality, but then they play it back at the best possible quality. So like it's these types of things when like, what arises when money is not a limitation of your ideas, like it's a beautiful thing, man, because I think like there's a lot of things that can get done when money is there for you.
Definitely, yeah. And that's the thing. Like, a lot of people don't know where to start. They just don't know. Like, you can definitely be... Like, a lot of people don't have money. And I was there at one point as well, so I can speak off of personal experiences. Like, you really have to just... think about your opportunity cost, right? Like, okay, I can work at this job for the next 8 months. I can save X amount of money. And then even if you don't have a perfect idea of what you're going to do with that money, at least you have that money at this point, right?
For sure.
And the flaw is that most people, once they get this X amount of money, they're most likely going to spend it, right? They're not going to think of the money already gone. Like, okay, like with me, I have a habit, like if I get money, I'm going to consider it already gone because I already know it belongs somewhere, even if I don't know where it's going right away, right? So like we were having the conversation yesterday, some people will get $15,000 in their bank account, but over the time it just trickles down into a balance of $0.
Yeah, like
right?
none of it was accumulated.
And it's like wow, you just got 15 grand in your bank account, and like that's the unfortunate part, is that no one knows what the fuck to do. Like, yeah, you could be paying bills with it, but you could be doing a lot of other things with it. And I'm not telling you to be an investment guru and just go all out, but definitely taking the time to invest into something that's going to benefit you rather than just burning up that equity can go a long way.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's been shown mathematically, like the exponential gains of just accumulated return. So even if you estimated a really conservative return rate on so the whole idea is, do you have an IRA? Have you heard of that?
No.
That's just like a Roth IRA, the standard retirement account.
No, I don't have
those
one.
are like the tax-free accounts. But the requirement is you can't sell to like you're 65, so it's a real lockup of your money.
Yeah.
And there's penalties for taking it out early. So, but it's really lucrative if you do maintain the balance. But the whole thing is the way your money stacks. So it's like if you start out with 10,000 and like you find a way to deposit $1,000 a month and just sit on the market for 45 years,
right?
You end up with $1 million.
And is it like guaranteed though? Like
practically, yeah. Like if you look at someone like Warren Buffett, like he started in 1950. Like his first investment tanked. He bought like a gas station and it like completely fell apart on him. It was like all of his money too. But then he was like, I can't give up. And he bought like a railroad. He like he didn't even buy a railroad. He bought like a section of one. And slowly just was like, okay, making moves. And then.
But yeah, that's what it is. Like you just have to kind of like dive into it, Now
you just like sit on the market. So it's just like, there's no worries to be had.
Yeah. It's like if you show up to the pool and dip your feet in it every single day, there's going to be that day where you just decide to jump in, right? Or like go for a swim, and that's what it is.
Just
like,
being exposed.
Yeah. And that like speaking on just people not having that exposure, like it's just not taught in the schools, even in college, it's not really taught. Like I learned some micro and macroeconomics with Mr. Spiegelman at Beach High, right? That was like something that like I can trace back on what kind of like inspired me into like this idea of thinking, but more so like it really took off in college when I took like the more advanced level macro and microeconomics. And like the average person doesn't have access to these classes or to these like ideas, like a class can like a macroeconomics class can teach you so much about things that you don't know, that like you want to act upon the knowledge that you just received. Like,
well, just being in a college economics class makes you lucky already, right?
Right.
That's the idea. So that's why I'm always like trying to preach financial liberation to people, because I always get like
it's a
bit preachy.
It's there. It's
no one wants to be hearing like, oh, save your money, but like it really is so important, because it's one of those things where it's like if your family like if your family gets sick, or like money gets tight for someone you really like, someone really close to you, like you want to be able to be there for them,
right? Like, and if you're not there for them, then who is, like, right?
Yeah. And then all the giving you can do, like I had Richard on last night and he was like, the only reason I want money is so I can give it away. And it's like, very good point, like it's just like
it feels really good to help people. Yeah, definitely. And I feel like that's probably the best part, is when like you have a certain amount of money that you don't need this much, and now you can really help people because you're good.
Definitely.
Which I feel like is a goal for a lot of us, but there's a lot of misconceptions and like false narratives in our beliefs that like have just been taught to us, and we haven't been taught the right things.
I feel like the problem is that getting money is really popular, but keeping it isn't. Because as Will Smith says, like you buy things you don't like to impress. No, it's like you buy things you buy things you don't need to impress people you don't like.
Right.
Like, it's just like, if more people learn to stop putting money in the pockets of these massive corporations who don't need your money.
Right.
And it's like, yeah, sure, some of them provide essential services, and I'm very thankful they exist. Sure. But being just wise, like, do you need that extra subscription that's costing you X when you could be saving that money?
Right.
Or like, do you get your values worth out of the gym, or could you just do push-ups and run around your block for free?
Right. Yeah. What's the opportunity cost there?
Yeah. So you just have to be educated with how you denote, how you spread out, because not everyone's money is infinite. Not everyone gets to have these, just opportunity of just, oh, money doesn't matter to me. So it's like, as long as you start building like just that, rhythm and discipline of how to spend.
But that's what it is, like just getting your feet wet. That's where it starts. Eventually you're gonna learn more and more and more to the point where you're making more intelligent decisions than you were a year ago.
Yeah, definitely. Like with the growth, I've definitely gotten way better with my money over time. Like I used to be so bad at it. Like I would, I used to work minimum wage, $8, and I'd come home with, $300 check, maybe some tips on the side. And it was like, I'd spend all of it, literally I'd have a ball with buying food out, and I'd be doing this, doing that, like
whatever it is.
Just
blowing money.
Just being careless. And then it was like, you look back and like something that really freaked me out actually was, I remember I had like $1,200 in my checking account, which I was like, oh, like I've saved quite a bit of money.
Right.
And then I forget what it was, because it didn't say it on every paycheck, but on one paycheck came in, it was like the year to date. And I saw like $7,000. And I was like, where did that money go? I was like,
wow.
Right? And so I was just like, damn, like, I definitely need to maintain this more. Because I was like, I could have, $5,000 right now.
Right, yeah.
So.
And that's the thing that like a lot of times we put our money into saving accounts, which are like paying us no interest or benefiting us in any ways.
But and they flip it on the side.
Yeah, and they're flipping it on the side, which is what you should be doing yourself, right? Like, and like I said, the education isn't really there for that. Not many people know how to flip it. Not many people know where to even start.
Well, because we don't need the banks need us.
Yeah,
so to speak.
But we pay we bear the opportunity cost for that.
Certainly.
Yeah. Yeah,
I mean, I think our financial institutions they're not fair, but I think as long as you're willing to put in the work, that you can get there.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? There sacrifices will be made. Like, you won't go out to the bar when everyone, when everyone's there and you really want to.
Definitely.
You won't be there. Like, when everyone's like going out for some expensive Sunday thing, like you won't be there either. Again, if it's to someone's birthday, definitely make the effort. But that's where you're saving the money to go for it, right? That's the whole thing. Like,
yeah, you have to.
You don't want to just be wasting your money on these like just experiences that aren't paying you what they could be.
You have to ask yourself, like, okay, I'm gonna go out tonight, and I'm gonna spend $100 on drinks with my friends, right? Whatever. But you can.
Damn, that's it, bro.
I mean,
no, I'm just kidding,
dude. I'm cheap with it. I'm gonna keep it a buck with you. Like, if I could get away with like a bottle of alcohol for like $20, I'm set for the night.
100%, dude.
No cap. But
I'd drink Listerine if I could. No, I'm just joking.
Nah, that would taste pretty good actually. Better than alcohol, I suppose.
Maybe minty.
Yeah, but what was I saying?
Just the opportunity cost of just not going out.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's like if I go out for a night and spend $100 on drinks, like, I could take that $100, fucking leverage it 500 times, and turn it into like $200-$300.
Wait, what's $100 leverage five? But like you said, you don't actually spend the leveraged amount. Yeah. Isn't that $50,000?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So wait a second.
So I'm able to trade like up to $50,000 worth of equity in the markets. I wouldn't do that. But
you could though.
I could,
bro. I gotta show me this because I really would like to try that.
And then don't let your greed get you too excited because that's what they want you to do.
I'm putting 50 bands on the Japanese yen.
They want you to over leverage and they want you to trade as frequently as possible. And like there's a lot of conflict of interest in the markets, and that goes back to the lack of information and stuff. Like the conflict of interest between everyone who plays a key role in the markets is huge, right? So like. For example, the institutional banks and the traders that are at top, they don't want anyone knowing what they're doing,
100%,
right? They don't want to help anyone but the guys that they're working with who are helping them. Same thing with the lenders, right? Like there's a reason why there was a big crash in 2008 because the lenders were only seeking their interest rather than the interest of everybody else. So there's a huge conflict of interest, yeah. And that happens to this day. I mean, I'm sure.
I mean, we're humans.
Yeah.
There just will always be one.
Right. Yeah. Everyone's trying to benefit rather than, collectively benefit. And it's hard to do that.
What's been your biggest percent gain on a Forex trade? Like, so you say you don't risk the 50,000, but like, what's the biggest percent you've ever, like, cause I've had options to go up 1,400% and I felt like a gangster, so it was like, I wanted to like, can you do, is that unfeasible as well? Or?
Yeah, it's definitely possible. Like you can definitely, 1,400 is definitely a lot. Here, let me do some math real quick.
Yeah, no, feel free.
Let's see.
Because I just from here, like, I should find that. Like, cause I want to remember that trade too.
Let's see. . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . I mean, like, the max amount of gains that I've ever probably seen is like 16% in a week, like 20% in a week.
Damn, that's it.
I mean, but that's like leveraged out to a certain amount of money. So like 16% on $100 account could be
$16,
right? But then on $1,000 account, it's like
160.
Right.
Gotcha.
So it's like depending on how much you're leveraging.
And are these trades like, are they 50-50 or are they well reasoned? Are they like, I'm very certain?
Well, that's the thing. Like, it's up to you how you want to trade the market. Some people trade with a 50-50 mentality. Some people trade with...
That's me, bro. I am the 50-50 mentality because it either happens or it doesn't.
Yeah.
That's just how I look at it.
I mean, here's the thing. Like, you always want to have an edge in the market, right? So whatever you can do to create that edge, you should do. Obviously, don't, like, paralyze yourself with your analysis, you know, because you can do too much.
Yeah, and freak out.
Definitely.
Gotcha.
But
I know that
like,
feeling.
When I'm aiming for a trade, I'm definitely aiming to risk one and make maybe 2 to 3 times as much as what I'm risking. And I know that's a little different than stocks because you're not really
margined out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't really work like that on stocks, but with the currencies, like if I'm risking 30 pips, I'm aiming for like 60 to 90 pips, right? I'm trying to make 2 or 3 times as much as that.
Is it like do you think it could ever be a consistent source of income for someone who only has so much money?
I definitely think it can. You have to approach the markets very systematically.
Like, how much money do you think you'd need to have to make like $50,000 on Forex? Do you think
$50,000 in a month?
No, like profit, like year to year. Like
assuming
you lived humbly and like you just did this, like no job, you're just like chilling. Because you can, and this is another thing I want. You never talked about this, but like that you can trade currencies at any time of the day, which I think is really cool because the markets never close.
Yeah, and that's what they want you to do. They want you to trade all day.
You just get addicted to it, like a game. Because the more you do it, the more you lose. The same thing with stocks.
Exactly, but that's not what you should do. And there's ways to work around it. Like there's session times that you should be trading. There's hours of the days that you should be trading. There's certain type of volatility you should look out for when you're trading.
What hour should you typically be trading at?
So I personally trade anywhere from 12 in the morning to 12 in the afternoon.
Really? So you start in the wee hours?
Yeah, when other people aren't really on the charts, I'm on the charts because that's when like the big dogs are moving their money.
That's hilarious.
They don't want people to know.
So you're like cashing it at 4:30 in the morning.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Dude,
like
that must feel pretty good. I can't lie. Like just being up in the middle of the night, cashing out.
It does, and then you go to sleep, and you're like, oh yeah, it's gonna be a good day tomorrow.
You ever fallen asleep on a trade?
Oh yeah, all the time.
I feel like that'd be really bad.
I mean, like that's the thing. Like
you wake up and it's like 300% gains. Does that ever happen to you?
So I've had some pretty insane gains, and like I would fall asleep, and then I'd wake up, and like next thing you know, I'm up like 3-4% already. You know, just in that quick nap. So it's pretty interesting, but
make money while you sleep.
Yeah, but I try not to fall asleep while I'm trading. It's hard, man. It's definitely hard to be up at those hours and function like
dude, it's a sacrifice. It's a commitment. Like, it's one of those things
and the best part is that like sometimes you'll be up and you won't even find a trade that you want to participate in. But one thing that like you really should focus on in the markets is protecting your capital, right? Like protecting your equity. Like managing your portfolio is just as important as protecting it. And I feel like that's probably the biggest part of managing a portfolio in the first place is just protecting that capital so you live the next day to be able to take more trades.
Yeah, 100%. It's never like betting the house. You can never bet the house because then you have nothing left to do.
Yeah, never. Like you have to make sure that you don't burn up because it's a long-term game. It's not
for sure
get rich quick scheme. It's none of that. So you definitely have to worry about protecting your capital rather than chasing the profits. Once you know how to protect your capital and you're entering in trades that are just high probability, you're gonna make money.
Yeah, I know this guy is a really prestigious investor in my eyes, and he always talks about how it's not how much money you get, it's how you manage your money.
Right.
So it's like if you're someone who there are people who live on, I don't know, a $70,000 income and are more financially secure than someone who makes $200,000.
Definitely, yeah.
Just based on how they might spend their money, like whether that guy has a car he can't afford or a second house he can't afford, you know, or something like that, or who knows what else. But the guy who's, you know, living humbly at $70K a year and living, you know, working remotely as a software dude or something, you know, like that, something chilling, or, you know, versus like the bigwig guy who has to impress everyone in the work office. Like it's all about how, you know, it's not how much money you make, it's how you manage it. So it's like I said, like the money invested over time, like I wish I should look up those numbers, but it's something like if you invest like $10,000 and $1,000 a month, you end up with millions of dollars, which is nuts, you know, because it's like you wouldn't miss that $1,000 month to month, but then you retire at 65 and you can go anywhere in the world. You know, it's like that's, you know, that's a freedom that I think everyone deserves, right?
Definitely, yeah. I mean, I feel like the pension funds and like the retirement funds have definitely failed us in the Western world, like.
Because a lot of them have been scams.
Yeah, exactly. That's why, like, I mean, I don't have a retirement or IRA that you were speaking of earlier. I don't have any of that.
Me neither. I don't have one either. Because I've never had a legitimate job where they match your IRA, which is what I'm looking to do. Because that's another thing. Like when you get a job that's like serious, you can get a Roth IRA match, which means like if you're willing to put in 300, your job will put in 300.
Right. Yeah.
And so
which is definitely beneficial, and you should take advantage of that. But
and those are tax-free money, bro.
Yeah, a lot of these retirement funds, I don't even think will exist when we're old enough to seek advantage of them. I feel like they're just gonna.
Yeah, the way the world's gonna develop is gonna be crazy over the next 40 years.
Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of changes. There's gonna be a lot of changes.
What do you foresee coming? I think cryptocurrency is gonna be huge.
Honestly, I think that like, I feel like, well, since we were talking about credit cards and debit cards and all of that stuff, that's already like crypto in a sense, right? Like, there's no real money.
Yes and no.
I mean, it's not
I don't disagree with you, but I like don't really see what you're saying.
It's all a digital asset.
For sure. That
right? Like there's no money that you're holding.
Oh, that's
it's all
like
numbers.
It is a cryptocurrency. That's what you meant.
Yeah, and like all of the transactions are like you said, tracked by these serial numbers that are just labeled to each transaction, which is similar
that's
to blockchain.
Like
right?
all the exactly like blockchain.
And so basically, like we've already kind of like pulled ourselves into that age of the very digital aspect of finances, right? So like everybody has probably 4 or 5 credit cards in their wallet. I mean, like most average adults usually have like 4 credit cards or 4 cards in general. So, but the thing is that they have these credit cards. Brain fart.
No worries. Hold on. I was gonna say the thing that's crazy about crypto. I was looking into it.
Oh yeah.
Like for because I wanted to get into mining it because I used to know kids in high school who were mining it, and that's super cool to me. Like the idea that you buy a computer, a nice GPU, or is it a GPU? I forget what it's called. I want to say it's the graphics processing unit, but I don't think it's the GPU. It's something else. It's like it's a thing that NVIDIA makes, right? And it's just this like you don't even need a monitor, and you like and it takes so much electricity, so like you don't really make your money back because you're drawing so much power to charge, and it gets super hot, so you need a fan, but it literally it finds, so it does all these calculations and it just finds bitcoins,
right?
You just slowly garner Bitcoin over time. If Bitcoin increases in value so you're literally mining it, because apparently I didn't know this, but there's a finite amount of Bitcoin. I didn't think there was, but there is. Yeah. So there will come a day where mining Bitcoin won't exist. So if you find a way to, so imagine like coupling solar power to like mining Bitcoin. Like imagine the money you could make if you like scaled it up. Yeah. It'd be crazy.
I mean, yeah, there's definitely some pretty insane correlations to every market, right? And you can take advantage of them for sure.
I found this really cool company when I was like looking into it all. So I was like looking into the setup, right? I was like, oh, I want to do this, do that. But it was so expensive and like I definitely didn't understand it. But there was a company I found, and there's plenty of companies that do it because it's a popular thing, is you can lease a computer that they already own and are already running. And so the lease is like a 2-year lease, and you can pay for a certain amount of hash rates per second.
Interesting.
So like you can get a really simple plan that's like cheap. I don't know what it was. It was like $200-$400 for 2 years. So they'd mine Bitcoin on your behalf for 2 years. Yeah. So at the end, they'd like deposit Bitcoin to a wallet, maybe scrape some off the top as like
definitely
a fee.
Probably like 40% maybe.
No, it's nothing. It's a very good deal for the consumer, to be honest. And the reason it makes it lucrative for them is because they're finding all the Bitcoin for everyone else, and because they scrape money from every account, there's a lot of money there.
Right? Yeah, like there's like major warehouses of like.
But
just
this
miners.
is it's nuts. So like they set up this huge warehouse. The fans going are crazy.
Yeah, there's probably like 1 million computers in there. Not 1 million, but like 100,000
processing cores probably. Yeah, like it's a huge facility. At least the one I was looking into. So like there's one you could buy that was like $3,000, $4,000 for 2 years, and apparently you're projected to end up with half a Bitcoin. You know, so it was like a Bitcoin at that time was only worth like 10 grand or something. Yeah. So you would profit because it would be worth 5,000. But the risk you take is if Bitcoin tanks and you spent this money to get half a Bitcoin, and like the Bitcoin's worth 2 grand now, like you could, you know. So I mean,
there's people in the markets that are speculating Bitcoin to go into like the 100s at one point.
That would be crazy.
Yeah, I mean, some people speculate that it's going to be turned into like a new currency standard almost, backed by gold.
I think that's not what the guy who founded Bitcoin wants, though.
Yeah, I don't know. It's not specifically with Bitcoin. It's just with cryptocurrency in general. Like, people think that there's going to be this one cryptocurrency that emerges, and it's going to be like a perfect correlation with gold, and that's going to be like the new golden standard.
Interesting.
And that's kind of like tying into before I had that brain fart. Like, a lot of people have credit cards, and they're not trading. Fuck, I'm having a brain fart again. I'm trying to get the thought across, but I keep losing it. Oh my lord. It's been a long morning.
It's going to be the Dogecoin. It's going to be the new gold standard. You ever heard of that?
No, I have not.
I used to trade.
I hope it's.
I used to trade Dogecoin, and it took like $100 for me, and I got angry, and I was like, I'm never trading cryptocurrency again.
Wait, it's an actual crypto.
Do you know the meme Doge?
Yeah. Of course,
there's literally the Dogecoin, and it's
wow.
like it's literally hilarious. But yeah, I lost money and I was not happy, so I was like, I can't ever do this again. It was like, this is not financially secure whatsoever.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of those coins should just be like kicked off the markets.
Because like, for example, like it was so funny, like the coin was like 1/100,000th of the price of $1. So you'd spend, or maybe not $1, I forget what it was, but it was something ridiculous. So you'd spend like $1,000 and end up with like 7 million Dogecoins, you know? And
what are you gonna do with 7 million?
But my whole thought was like, let this get to $1, bro, and I was in early, you know? Yeah. I was like, I'm gonna have $7 million.
That's crazy.
But definitely not happening.
Yeah.
And like you'd watch the surge, you'd buy in and tank, and you're like, oh, I'm not doing this anymore. It's just stupid.
Yeah, it's interesting trading the markets for sure. So it's a learning process all the way. So it's never like you have all the answers, constantly evolving.
Nah, but who does? It is what it is.
Yeah.
So something I want to talk to you about was you're from India, and I think that's super cool.
Yeah, so I was born there.
Where were you born?
New Delhi, which is like the capital.
New Delhi, true.
Yeah, I was born in some hospital. I can't tell you exactly where. Can't tell you what time.
I'm not doing your astrology chart, don't worry.
But yeah, I was born there. And lived there for 7 years until I moved here.
Do you remember life over there? Like life, like as a 7-year-old?
Yeah, it was pretty fun. Like I was like, you know, your average little hood rat kid just doing hood rat shit with his friends, staying out late. I lived in like this gated community, so staying out late for me wasn't really a problem because everybody was just like in these boundaries, you know. Gotcha. So I just got to run around all day, all night, as long as I did my homework.
Dude, I love Indian food. It's literally one of my favorite foods.
Oh yeah, it's really, really good. Recently, I went to see some friends up in Jacksonville, and like we had like an Indian food night, and I ordered all the dishes for everyone.
Sick.
So like I was like, okay, I know what you want. This is what you're gonna like, and it was just a blast.
That's awesome. What's your favorite dish? I'm definitely a lamb biryani guy. That stuff is really amazing.
Yeah, I tried to get them to try lamb, but they weren't really about it.
Oh, dude, I would have been all over that. And then also chicken tikka masala.
Yeah, I really like the curries. Definitely like chicken tikka masala and like butter chicken and all the very like common stuff everybody knows about because it's pretty good, right? Everybody really likes it. So those are definitely my favorite dishes.
And samosas too. Those are my
shout out to the samosas, the quick appetizers.
And I also like how a lot of Indian food's vegetarian because I think that's really cool. And a lot of it you wouldn't even know. You know, like it's not even you wouldn't even know because obviously you would, but it's, like there's no lack of meat or whatever. But it's just the flavor is not gone. You know, like
it's like super flavorful.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah.
Like I remember I had these vegan samosas and like last like now I was like, oh, this is gonna be terrible, because not that I like go into food thinking like that, but I had it and I was blown away.
Right, of how good it was.
And the guy starts listing the spices to me. There was like 35 spices, like, you know, maybe exaggerating. It was like at least a dozen spices.
No, probably, yeah.
Yeah, and
a lot of spices.
I was like shocked, bro. And it was such a good texture, and they were fried perfectly. And I was like, yo, this guy's just, you know, like if I could bring one food to an island, you know,
it'd be these vegan samosas. Definitely, yeah. I feel like it's definitely a good diet to have too, because a lot of those spices have like health benefits. Not many people know that. Like the turmeric, the red chilies, all of that stuff is good for your immune system and just the inflammation in your body and stuff like that. So
yeah, definitely.
It's not only is it good for you, it tastes amazing. So
seriously,
it's a win-win.
India's been kind of like battling the coronavirus, hasn't it? Have they been doing okay?
I mean, my family has been doing well. Like they aren't really worried about it too much. Sometimes they are afraid of going out, but you know, wearing your mask basically does the job. So other than that, I don't know too much about them struggling with it. I'm sure they're probably having some type of issues because there's such a big percentage of population just like in India. But I feel like Indians have some crazy immune systems, if I'm being real with you. Like they're just built that way, right? Like it's not the cleanest place, so their immune systems have to be like
that's an interesting
up to
point.
par.
Interesting.
I wouldn't like bet on it, but I think they're definitely like holding it down to a certain degree.
I was only asking because I saw they were in like the top 5 most infected countries.
Wow.
I mean, here we are at number 1 though.
Yeah.
So I'm knowing, you know.
I mean, like I would expect them to probably be doing worse, to be honest, right? Because like they don't have the resources that we have.
I saw a really funny clip on Reddit, like the Indian police going around, and they were going around these like
beating people
with the wooden things, and they were like they were outside, and like they'd like yell at them. The guys like wouldn't move, and he'd be like, all right, and like they just start beating you. But like they like one cop would do it, and then all of a sudden there's like 4 cops beating up this like 3 guys, and you're like, I don't know why they weren't inside.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean like. Yeah, I guess like that's you can get away with that stuff over there. I feel like if that was happening here, it would definitely be a different context.
It's worse here, bro.
Yeah, I mean, as far as like COVID, like people weren't getting beat for being outside, right? Like I don't even think people really got arrested or fined. Like I heard a lot of things like, oh, there's gonna be a curfew and fines going out if you're out late. Like I would always get these Amber Alerts, like, okay, don't go out after 10, but I'm out after 10, you know?
Yeah, I haven't really heard much about it either.
As of lately, yeah, but in the beginning, I would get these Amber Alerts.
I meant like, yeah, I haven't really heard of people like being like punished for like staying
yeah, exactly.
out. I think it's just more like a bars are closed kind of thing, not like we're gonna pull you over. Like I mean, curfew as in like restaurants can't be open past this time.
Yeah, definitely.
So what do you think of all of it though, Corona, and how it's all played out?
I would have never thought like that we would ever go down this journey, to be honest. Like, but our free world is pretty sensitive to like, you know, infectious diseases. Like some people don't even want to wear masks because they feel like they aren't obligated to do this, you know, whatever it may be, their reasoning. But it's just like there's a reason why like China and Japan were doing so good with it. Even when they were like the outbreaks were happening, they were able to handle it at a fairly decent rate, whereas like we kind of just let it creep onto us, into our borders from halfway across the world, and now we can't even like save ourselves.
Seriously, it's really gotten out of control. And now all college is online. Were you in online classes?
No, and I think that's so unfortunate, man. Like I think that's like the biggest rip off. Like I saw your tweet that you're fond of online classes and you don't mind it that much.
I didn't mean to come off like, oh, they're better. I just meant like I hear a lot of people racking on how bad they are, and I'm like, I don't know about you, but like not leaving my house and just like, because I get to like connect it to my TV, so like I'm looking at my professor on like a 60-inch screen. Yeah. So it's pretty sick to like, you know, be in class kind of like that, and like, you know, I get to see his lecture notes. I'm not like squinting to see the board. Raising your hand for a question is a lot easier, you know? And I find the class is kind of almost more engaged than we were in person, if that makes sense. As crazy as that sounds.
Is the class size smaller or?
No, it's a huge class. It's like 60 kids. Not huge, but just like enough. Like I was in a 300-person Zoom class over the summer, which was wild.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I don't know. I mean, I definitely don't like them better. but they're not as bad as I think everyone makes it out to
I
seem.
feel like it just kind of depends on your circumstances, right? Like if you have a nice 60
for sure,
screen,
I'm super privileged. Like I'm not taking that away
like a
whatsoever.
lot of people I feel like the reason why they frown on it or they don't like it as much is because they have way more resources that they can benefit from on campus, right?
Absolutely.
Like there's a lot of like art students that could use studio time in class, but now they have to, do it all at home,
clearly
over the internet with a teacher that like isn't really in front of you. It's not like that hand-on contact that you need in certain fields.
Yeah, that's not fair whatsoever. I feel the same way. Like there's like, for example, at FSU, like they charge us student services, which is like $1,000 a semester or something.
And they're still doing that, right? They're still charging it to you, even though you're not on campus.
And they're probably going to mark it up as like, oh, we got to pay for Zoom and this, that, and the other. But it's like
Zoom is free,
or you know what I mean? Well, not for them. They're paying for the college enrollment of it. Right, but you know what I mean, though. Definitely not worth like 40,000 kids paying $1,000 each.
No,
So that's $40 million. It's like that's a lot of money, and it's like they're taking money from people who are not rolling in it, right? So it's like you said, bro. Like there's kids who need the music. Like there are people who don't have a grand piano but are music majors. So it's like taking that away from them but still charging them money is like that's not cool. Like that's why I thought, because why can't they just give up the student services one semester? We would love them for that. We would praise them for that.
Right.
Like I don't know why they don't like, because we're like kind of like their little customers. So I don't know why they don't like value the customer like that. Because I would literally make such a deal if they were refunding us and making the best effort to accommodate us financially.
Right.
Like you said, bro, I think it's a very big scam. Like it's not as.
I feel like it's probably not entirely in their hands too, because a lot of these aids and like charges are
determined by government and stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
So
there's definitely so many hands to get through before like something like that would even happen.
Right.
But it doesn't mean they couldn't make an effort. You know what I mean? Like to even show like, hey guys, like we're going to be reallocating this money for next year or whatever it was. Like just let us know that we're not in like, by ourselves. Like,
it sucks. Like I'm paying $1,000 for things that I'm not even seeing.
So you're in online classes?
No.
But yeah, I mean, I definitely
keeping it cool until this coronavirus is over, then getting back on classes.
That's cool. I was thinking about doing that, but I was like, I know that if I hop off, I'm just not gonna hop back on the wagon.
Some like I said, if the opportunity cost is just not right for you, then don't do it. But I was planning on going back to classes this semester, but ever since that like coronavirus shit happened, I was like, nah, fuck this.
Totally. I mean, you were doing online when it like kind of the transfer happened, right?
No. I basically just like was in class. So then I just moved back to Miami and then was going to take online classes, but I didn't. So then I was eventually going to do it, but coronavirus started and like, it's like this year has just been a shit show.
Totally, man. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah. And I wouldn't have expected it to run this far. Like I was really hoping to get into classes for like the fall semester. But like it's like it fucked spring up. Now it's
the whole summer.
Yeah, and now it's like I don't know when it's gonna end. I feel like it's gonna run into 2022. God damn it.
It very well might. I mean, I was laughing with my friends like it took away everyone's birthday. Like if you didn't have your birthday in January, February,
oh dude,
you didn't have a birthday.
Yeah, my birthday was on February, so I got mine out just in time.
Sick, man. I'm happy for you. We were all robbed. The rest of us.
For real. It's so sad. And like the people who are graduating, like I had a friend graduate from Cornell and he didn't really have a real graduation, which is like it's kind of fucked, right?
That's definitely a bummer. You look forward to it for 4 years.
Definitely. Like that's your peak moment. And like obviously it's not
in the control of the college.
Yeah, and it's not like everything that you live up for, but obviously it's nice to.
It means something.
Yeah, it does mean something, especially when you're graduating from Cornell.
For sure.
It's like it would have been cool because I was supposed to go to his graduation, but it just didn't happen.
Damn. But yeah, I mean, I think we will get over it soon. I mean, that's what I'm hoping for, right? Because I don't want to see all these small businesses threatened, and I don't want to see the entire. Because like it's been a huge movement of wealth. Like to get back to that, like the like Walmart and Amazon are at all-time highs, like their stocks and their revenues. So it's like, and where's that money coming from? People who aren't spending money on a small business that's closed,
right?
And like. That doesn't seem like a problem short term, but those customers aren't going back, right? Yeah. And then the businesses will shutter, and it's like now it's just a permanent transfer of wealth, and like so it's like we're all just gonna be left with just corporations, bro. Like, it will just be like lack of government response that led us there, right?
Right. I mean, and like you never want the government to have that much control or that much like.
I think if it involves the safety of the community, it's warranted, but we like closed the gate after the horse got out. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, that's the thing though. Like the reaction to all of these things is a little too late. You know, they always want to act after the downfall has already occurred.
Yeah.
So.
Absolutely. All right. So you want to wrap it up? You want anything else to say?
Yeah, we could wrap it up. Definitely save more conversations for maybe a future podcast. Who knows?
Yeah, dude, I'm happy to have you back. Here, let's see if we.
I mean, there's a few things on this list that we didn't really cover, but
no, let's do it. Let's talk about it. I don't care. I got plenty of time.
Let's see. I mean, this is like really just like trading facts that I would be spitting.
Do it. I want to hear them.
So, I mean, okay. So, like we talked about Forex earlier. And every other market that we've been talking about that you can trade, like every trader is basically like a slave to volatility, right? So volatility is like how...
When you say slave though, like what is that? Like
that means that in order for us to make money, we need volatility in the markets because volatility is what drives prices up and down.
Day to day, sure.
Right.
Intraday.
Day to day, yes, because that's more short term. Long term, they're gonna move, right? So day to day, there has to be volatility created in the markets, and in order for volatility to be created, there's two sides of the markets. There's liquidity and volatility. So in order for volatility to be created,
I didn't think they were opposites though. Are you saying them like they're opposites?
No, they aren't opposites at all, but they're correlated inverse. So when there's more liquidity in the markets, there's less volatility, and when there's more volatility in the markets, there's less liquidity.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So that's one thing that like a lot of traders who come into these markets don't know, that like you want to be a friend with volatility, right? You want to understand where liquidity lies on the chart, where these price points are, where a lot of people were willing to buy and sell.
For sure. Like I said, with the IV crush and stuff, right. Like with volume, to explain it lightly, like if the day before earnings or like maybe the afternoon before earnings, before the market closes, you buy in. Mm-hmm. And, you know, when you're buying, there's 500 yelling, I want to buy, and 500 people yelling, I'll sell.
Yeah.
Right? But then earnings happens, and let's say the stock tanks, right? And then let's say you're left with your option that you bought a call and you thought it was going up and it totally did not happen. You're going to wake up and there's going to be 500 people yelling, I want to sell, and 0 people yelling, I want to buy.
You're right.
So, like, your contract is worth nothing. So
right, yeah. So
burn all your money.
Definitely. Yeah, and that just goes back to, like, the volatility. Like, there's going to be buyers and sellers at different price points, right? You have to figure out how the chart's going to get to those price points and what amount of time. Mm-hmm. Like options, you know, you have a specific time that you have to be right with your call, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, you buy expirations.
Right.
I think you'd really like options, bro, because I definitely think if you have a thing for currency pairs, that you'd definitely really enjoy options.
Yeah, I think options are definitely something I should look into.
Set your sights on, and I think you should, you know, definitely dedicate a small portion of your whatever you're trading in Forex for that, because it's the same thing, bro. It's like the market favors people who like are in early. Right? Like if you were out here buying Microsoft calls in the summer because you heard the whisperings of the deal coming together, and here they are now teaming up with Walmart to buy them, right? It's like the deal hasn't gone through yet, but when it does, like, you know, you're cashing. And again, like the stock hit like 230 the other day, right? And like $1.75 trillion market cap, like a huge company. So it's like you're taking a risk because you're trying to pick a timetable, but you have the faith because it's like, I know they'll secure that TikTok deal.
I mean, like that's pretty crazy. They're at 230. People might think that these are like what? Considered all-time highs for that company?
No, everything is at an all-time high right now.
Yeah, and like who knows, it might 4x that in like the next 2 years.
What do you mean?
Like it might increase 4 times what it's sitting at per share right now. Like who knows, like if they're growing at such an exponential rate, like obviously a lot of the liquidity and volatility is like manufactured artificially, but if the company, how much has it increased in the past year?
Who, Microsoft?
Yeah.
Let's see. I can tell you. But it's unsustainable. Well, I'll put it that way. It's definitely up there.
And there's a share for both Microsoft and Walmart together, you said?
No. But I'm saying they're in a partnership deal to buy the U.S. portion of TikTok. Because you heard about that, right? Like, that they're a huge security breach for us, and it's a threat of, like, you know, national security interests don't involve China running that company. Yeah. The company ByteDance, I believe. But to answer your question, if today is August... What is today? Whatever. A year ago.
29th.
Gotcha. So, yeah, a year ago, Microsoft was 137. And so now it's 228 at market close Friday. So that's $100 per share. And that's, a company that has existed for 30 years.
Right.
So it's like, and I saw this really good analysis on the internet that it's not Microsoft, it's the US economy that grew. Like, does that make sense? So Microsoft just happened to be in a unique position that they're in everyone's office space, and they're in everyone's...
Same thing with Apple, right?
Exactly.
In a
so
way.
It's like, yeah, no, very much so. And Amazon, all these Google as well, like these massive corporations who are larger than $1 trillion, and they were in a position where as the economy expanded, they just happened to be at the top,
right?
And it's like they just grew with it, and they've really spread their fingers throughout the entire economy, and like now they just make money everywhere, right? Like Google's just like making money everywhere.
Yeah, they're doing everything they can underneath the sun that they haven't done to make money.
Yeah, so it's just it's simple to me, at least, that like trading day to day doesn't work.
No, it doesn't. I mean, like so basically when you're trading day to day, you're basically trading against an algorithm. Many people don't know that. Like, there is an actual algorithm that...
Would you ever set up an algorithm? Are you trying to do something like that?
In the future, yes, because, I mean, when I'm trading, I try my best to trade like an algorithm, right? Like, I want to manage my risk like an algorithm would be. I want to take targets, secure profits in a way that's very systematic. And obviously, all an algorithm is just a combined list of systems that it's following, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So,
you're writing the code.
So definitely want to create an algorithm in the future, but the goal right now is to behave and be the algorithm.
For sure.
Yeah.
Trying to emulate it. That's something I at least try to do. Like, before I enter a position, I always say, what's the ideal price where I'd feel comfortable selling? Like, when did I make enough money to where, like, so you don't get greedy, because then you end up holding too long and it crashes and you didn't get the point that you wanted,
Right.
But I can't tell you how many times I've sold early, bro. Like, it's the worst.
Dude, I sold early just last week.
Dude, I sold early 2 days ago. Like, Tesla hit $2,300 on Friday, and I was in at like 2,000, and it was like I sold at 2160 because I'm like, this is so overpriced, I can't take this risk anymore. And it went up another $150 per share. So it's like, what?
That's what happened with me during my recent play with Bitcoin, is that I sold a little bit early. But the first time I was buying Bitcoin, which was a year ago, I sold a little too late. So, it
catches you both ways, man.
It's like, what do you
want to do? The house always wins.
It's like, what do you want to do? Do you want to sell early or do you want to sell too late?
I know, you can never catch the knife.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, as a trader, I don't think you should be focusing on buying at the very top. I mean, selling at the very top or buying at the very bottom. There's a lot of opportunity right in between those.
For sure.
And that's what you should worry about, right? And like I said, if you're going to let greed take you places, then it's only going to take you down a rabbit hole that's way too deep for your finances. It's going to eat everything.
Yeah. Like I said, man, just money management. It's like all of it. So I just got to like open that IRA already.
Yeah.
I really just like...
I need to start doing something with...
I'll put you on the stocks, bro. I got you.
Yeah, I want to look into options too. Like, I feel like that's something interesting. I don't know too much about it to like really even have an opinion on it or like any specific interest, but definitely want to look into it.
Yeah, it's definitely labeled as a get rich quick scheme on those Instagram ads as well. But like, obviously, anyone who does it will tell you no way.
Yeah, I mean, like it's something that I feel like that's like in every industry. There's someone who's trying to sell you that pyramid scheme, multi-level marketing.
What's so dangerous about that though, and something I actually didn't really know until a few like years ago. I mean, not to say I've done it for that long of a time, but like I didn't realize that for every winner there's a loser, and for every loser there's a winner.
Oh yeah.
Like I didn't know that. Like, for example, like when you sell at a loss, there was a dude on the end of that trade who made the exact amount of money. Obviously, not technically, because you could be a group of losers and one winner.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Or,
definitely.
But something so it's like whenever you have a bad trade, there was a dude like
who outdid you.
Not even outdid us. Like, it's like something I think is hilarious. It's like you can buy a call option, right? Like you like buy calls, right?
Right.
Some dude is on the other side of that trade selling calls. Mm-hmm. So if you make money, that dude lost money.
Right.
And if you lose money, that dude made money.
Yeah, it's going into someone else's pockets.
Yeah, and the problem with buying options is you can lose a finite amount but gain an infinite amount. So in theory, you could spend $1,000 and make an infinite amount of money. Clearly, that's not the case because it caps out somewhere, obviously, because the price will eventually stop going up and it will set at some amount.
Yeah.
But theoretically, you could spend $1,000 and make an infinite amount of money. But the problem with selling options is you make a defined amount of money, So that person would make that $1,000, but they could lose infinite amount of money.
So it's better to buy.
Well, so then this is where it gets back to it, is 90% of people who buy options lose, and 90% of people who sell options win. So so you're essentially selling all the time, and then that one error will cost
you.
But then there's the opposite. There's the guy who fails 9 times and bags it on the last one, So
wow.
Yeah, I saw a dude, he was buying Tesla options right before the huge run up. It was at like $300, and he was buying $1,000 Tesla calls, which were so out of the money, zero volume. He was buying them for cents. And Tesla actually hit $1,000 by his expiration, which was so crazy. And the dude turned like $100,000 to like $4.5 million.
Yeah, man, that's crazy. It's Tesla was. I remember when I was trading Tesla, that shit was at like 247, and like now it's in the $2,000 to 2,000.
It closed at like 2,200, I think.
2,200, yeah.
Yeah, 10
pretty
times.
Insane, man.
10 times your money.
It's pretty insane. Now that's goes back to saying like, dude, you just buy and hold, man. That's all you really got to do. Is it's
and to think you could do that now at 2,200, right? Yeah. Like you could just buy at 2,200
like,
and hold. Like,
and that's the thing. Like with gold too. Like gold just made record highs. It just reached 2K, and people are already speculating like 4K, 10K. And I think it's definitely possible.
I think that's a bit unreasonable, though. Do you think possible?
I think it's possible over the next like 10, 20 years.
We're just going to have to see how like it's looked at as an asset. Because I think millennials will have an interesting perspective on gold, and like the way we look at what is valuable will change. But I could be totally wrong. I mean, it's definitely a precious earth metal, but at the end of the day, it's just gold. Like, you know what I mean? It has no practical uses in society. It's not like you're like paying for something in gold.
Right.
You can't buy a house in gold.
Right.
Like, but you're not wrong. Like, there's definitely, it's just weird the way we price it, right? Because there's finite amount of gold.
Exactly.
Right?
And it's all about who prices and how they price it and why they're pricing it, right? So there's like, there might be one day where gold is worth 4,000 an ounce, and it's being leveraged against a new currency, or like there's a lot of possibilities with gold because it's the one thing in the market that like can be used as money but isn't money, if that makes sense.
Because it's the backing to money,
right? Like crypto can't do that. A lot of our currencies can't do that, but gold can. And like as of right now, it's been a backing for currency for a long time, so who knows where it can go.
Yeah, I definitely should start buying some gold, but to me the returns aren't there, man. I don't want to buy gold and sit on it for 12 years. Like, that'd be a ridiculous investment to me. Although I could look like a fool in 10 years from now if gold's like $10,000 an ounce, like you say it will be, right?
Yeah, I mean, who knows? I can see, I definitely don't see gold going back to under.
I think it breached
2K, and it's going to stay above 2K for a while.
I think until I can buy the gold bars, I'm gonna stay away from gold.
Yeah, that's the goal.
How much does a gold bar weigh? How much does it cost?
I think it's like...
Is it a kilogram? No, it must be heavier than that.
No. I think it's like just like 20... Just underneath of... I have no clue.
Whoa, that's heavy. Take a guess. I'll tell you what it is.
Like what, 28 pounds?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's
27.5 pounds.
Yeah, it's just a little bit underneath 28 pounds. That's what I was going to say.
They're 7 by 3 by 1 5/8 inches. So that's a funny little shape. Wow, that's 28 pounds. Interesting.
Is it the small ones?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like the little bricks.
Yeah.
So they're 12.5 kilograms.
Yeah.
Huh. That's interesting.
You can make a little pendant out of it, and it will just hold its value.
That'd be really funny.
It's just a brick of gold.
I got investments on my neck. That's stupid though. Anyone who's like really about it, they'd have like a safe. You have like mad gold. You don't just have one gold bar and you're flexing it.
Yeah, I mean, like, shit. If you have the money for it, why not, right? Just how much does that cost you? I think that's like what, 20.
Oh, that'd be expensive.
Pounds.
$500,000. Whoa, that's crazy. Because they're 400 ounces, so 400 times 2,000. Wait, that'd be 800,000.
So I did 28 times 16, right? 16 ounces a pound.
It says this 400 ounce gold bar is quite large, weighing in at a whopping 27.4 pounds, with a single bar valued at roughly 500,000. But this might have been an article from way long ago.
Yeah, so it's around like.
Well, it's from the Census Bureau, but.
It's around like $500,000, right?
Yeah, so it says. But that's crazy, $500,000. And then there's dudes with like thousands of bars.
Yeah, like
that's insane.
They have tons.
Imagine just sitting on
literal tons of gold.
A ton. How much is a ton of gold?
Don't even ask me. You know what's a pretty cool fun fact is that,
dude,
like,
you've opened that basket. Now I'm gonna check. Assuming the 500,000 metric. Go ahead.
Pretty interesting fact is that, like, Indian households and like the females in Indian households own like 70% or something of like all the gold, which is pretty insane. Like to have more gold combined than just like the reserves.
Wow, really?
Yeah. You can fact check me if you want,
That's
but
peculiar.
I've definitely heard that a few times.
Well, I just did the math, by the way, and apparently a ton of gold would cost you $36.5 million.
That doesn't sound like a lot.
Maybe I did the math wrong. It's 2,000 pounds.
Yeah.
That's what's in a ton. Divided by 27.4.
I thought a ton was 1,200 pounds.
I thought a ton was 2,000 pounds.
Bro, it's been a long time since I took a math class.
But yeah.
2,000 pounds, yeah.
So that gives you 73 gold bars. 73 gold bars times 500,000, 36.5 million. But again, I think it might be more expensive now than $500,000 per bar. So I gotta buy me some gold. If anyone's watching, I'll take some gold.
Yeah, come with us. Come to us with your best offers for sure. I'll buy it off you.
That'd be hilarious. Yeah, I don't know how comfortable I am just buying a rock. You know, like I'd rather buy a piece of a company. I just don't see how feasible that is. Yeah, not to say that like, it wouldn't profit. I don't know how I feel about that.
Some people feel the exact opposite way, right? Like
you're right.
They would rather buy something they could hold in their hands than like just like an idea of a company.
No, I'll take shares of Apple over that any day. But
yeah,
but it's always crazy. Good to diversify.
Like, it's so insane how back in like 2016. I had looked at Apple's prices and I was like, damn, I would never buy this. Like, it's so high. And they've just been climbing. So it's really like
they recently stock split though. So whereas their stock was $500 on Friday morning, after Friday close, they're splitting one share into 4 shares. So 500 became 125.
Right.
So now there's 4 times as many outstanding shares in the market, so it doesn't change the market cap value whatsoever. But it's just it's the psychology of bringing new investors aboard. So it's, hey, Apple's only $125.
$125.
Even though there are people who are around. I mean, Apple has done stock splits before, but everyone's anticipating one for Amazon because they're like $3,400 a share or something like that. So it's like it's getting up there to where like they could do like a 10-to-1 stock split and bring their stock down to like $400 or something like that.
$3,400. Yeah, that's.
I remember looking at it at 2,000 and going, "That's so expensive."
Dude, I remember working for Whole Foods, right? And they would have the fucking Amazon stock like price written up on the wall.
Really?
I remember it was like 1,800, and I was like, 1,800, like who's gonna buy this?
People who want to double their money.
And now look at it, like it's just crazy, man. Like there's a lot of money to be made. Yeah,
man, that guy has 200 Bs, so you can ask him.
For real, I wonder what he does like on a daily basis, right? Like,
dude, what would you do?
Does he wake up and like
Nothing.
Check his finances, just making sure like his 200 Bs are still there?
No, at a point I can imagine it just gets monotonous, right? How often could you just look at the stock price and like congratulate yourself? But the guy's, he definitely should be more charitable than he is. So yeah, who knows?
Of course the man worked for it, right? If he hadn't worked for it, he wouldn't be where he is. But I feel like he could be doing better, you know? Be a better role model to the other rich guys.
It's just the wealth inequality is nuts, man.
Yeah.
I don't being like the richest person, like that's such a weird sentence.
I could not imagine myself being the richest person, right? Like I would definitely give a lot of money away.
Seriously, I wouldn't want that title.
Like, dude, if I have an extra $1,000 for the week, like you best believe I'm giving that shit away to like the fucking corner store, or like, you know, whatever the fuck. Like if I'm seeing someone on the corner of the street, I'm gonna give them money. Just like that's kind of like the habit of having money, is like you kind of just want to use it. You know, I don't know if you've ever experienced that. Like you'll have like couple $100 in your wallet, and like just because you have the actual money in like physical paper form, you're more likely to spend it or give it away than having it in just like in your bank account.
That's why I try to keep only electronic money. Because
I get too like trigger happy. Like, you know, like if I have 20 bucks in my wallet, right, and I see that 20 bucks, like I'm just gonna find a way to spend it. Like I'm just gonna figure something out. Like, okay, I can go to blah blah blah, just buy something for $10 and then like give the rest away or something. You know, there's like so interesting how that works.
The psychology of money is a strange thing.
Yeah, and that's also like I think a lot of people are desensitized to like money. I mean, even though there's no like way to have like a connection with it, like I feel like
I definitely think like billionaires are desensitized.
Yeah.
Like, what is another $1 billion to Jeff Bezos versus like what is $1 billion to like an entire community of people?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
I mean, if Miami was to like receive a donation of $1 billion
and just hand it out to 2 million people, everyone would get $2,000.
Yeah.
Right.
Or I would actually hope they used it for like the fucking public transportation. Just like do something with that, please. Help us.
Miami-Dade, do better.
Yeah, bro. It's so bad with that. It's like the biggest flaw. I feel like we're gonna be like New York, but with no public transportation.
Seriously, I mean, we're gonna be underwater though, so we'll have nothing to worry about.
Yeah. Well, where do you plan on going once we're underwater? Like, you have any states that you have in mind?
That's a good question, man. Definitely high ground, but also like, it's one of those things where it's just like, it's such a sad thing to think about. Yeah. The idea that where you grew up will be gone, and the idea that not even that it could happen, but that people are inevitably, there is no effort being made to maybe even change that reality.
Yeah.
Which is what makes what you're like asking very real. Like, where would you go? And honestly, I don't really have a good answer for that. Because like, I would say some mountainous state, but it's like, then you'd end up, alone in some tiny town, and maybe I don't like that. And so it's like, I don't know. Like, it's hard to say. Yeah, maybe I'd like to hold out belief that maybe we could pull it off. Maybe, but I so doubt it.
Yeah, if we build like Godzilla-sized sandbags and just like put them on the ocean.
Well, but it's actually, I mean, what sucks about the reality of it is Florida's on limestone, so that would work in another place, but because we're on limestone or primarily limestone, it comes from the bottom.
Yeah, it's gonna bleed through the bottom.
Yeah, like soon, like just like all the sewage would come up, the sewage lines would erode, like the city would become unlivable.
We're gonna be a swamp. That's what we are.
Yeah, and it would be bad, man, because like then it's like it'll be weird seeing all the like brickle underwater. Like what would that look like, right? Like there'd be like it's gonna look like Venice, where like you canoe through the brickle. Like,
oh my god, can you imagine that? Like
I would imagine that. Like we might be able to see that in our lifetime. Seriously,
we might. Yeah,
because like we're not gonna clean it up. We're just gonna like let it go underwater, which would be
there's
so
no
sad.
Like I mean we can't even prevent it. So what are we gonna do when it actually happens?
I don't think we couldn't prevent it. I'd say we'd have to start yesterday.
Oh yeah,
it's one of those things, and like
definitely.
We're not making an effort.
We would have to like build some crazy dams, and I don't know how we would do that because we're literally like below sea level.
There's been some really interesting ideas about like how to mitigate water and how it all works, because water can be controlled,
right?
Albeit it is a massive thing,
right?
But like I saw this one project where they were like creating like these like little, I forget where it was. I actually want to say it was in Venice. It was like it was right outside the main canal, because like there's an S basically through the entire city of Venice.
Got it.
That's the main canal.
Got it.
So and basically all the smaller canals that get you everywhere in the city come from that main one.
Right.
So outside of the entire encompass of the city, they have this like these like yellow kind of like door stopper shaped things where they like rise up and the ocean would like just stop. You know what I mean? Like they'd like literally like open up kind of like that acute angle, and there'd be like a wall now where there was just ocean. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So they'd like kind of create like a little pond.
Right.
But the problem they were finding is the ocean is so powerful that like whatever the things would break, and then water would come down one of them, which means water's coming through all of them.
Right.
So it's a huge,
it's definitely
civil engineering effort, and it would be better to just invest in clean energy. Like, let's be real. Like, although we're gonna need both. We're gonna need a real insane effort of engineering and then on top of that, like sustainability efforts. Yeah. But it's gonna take effort from everyone, like not just the people in power. Like we have to demand that.
Yeah.
Because like we're all being robbed, to be honest. Like I feel like everyone, like who owns Miami? Nobody. So it's like the fact that we're letting certain people destroy it is like terrible, right?
Yeah, it's a beautiful place too. I mean, like it's home.
Nature will take it back over, which I'm kind of like, I'm here for nature for that. Like,
yeah, it'll be a swamp once again.
Yeah, the alligators would be in Brickell.
Yep.
That'd be hilarious. That'd be crazy, right?
If we end up seeing alligators in Brickell, I'm off to Texas. That's all I gotta say.
Texas? I don't know if Texas, I mean, where in Texas? Like West Texas? Because like,
I don't wherever think, I can find Houston, a big ass ranch.
Houston is like, yeah, definitely not anywhere near there. You're looking West Texas. Maybe South Texas as well.
There's just a lot of street racing. And
you're about that ranch life, though?
Ranch life, yeah.
You would?
That's what I care about, man. I think, to be honest, like I just care about owning a lot of land. You know, maybe having an oil field or oil rig out there. If you can, you know, if you can get your hands on that, this is definitely the right time.
Oil might be like
buying.
valueless, though, to be honest, like in the future. Like, what if we like wean off of plastics? Then where's the industry for oil?
That's the thing. It might be, but people have been saying that for so long.
I'd rather have a field of solar panels in my Texas ranch, because then I'd be like powering everyone in my community.
Oh, well, yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't know
both?
if you've been out to the West Coast, but like there's a lot of solar panels when you're going down to like the Grand Canyon. And I forget what exact area it is, but I remember going to the Grand Canyon while I was in Las Vegas, and I saw like just like many, probably like thousands of solar panels just like on the side of this mountain. And, you know, like it's definitely possible because there's nothing but sun out there.
Definitely. I definitely want to have like a house that's like super, you know, like eco-friendly. Like I'd love to have like a smart house. Does that make sense? Like, like a carbon negative house, you know, because like, for example, like to power your lights, power your AC, someone out there is fracking natural gas to power your electricity. So if you're able to have a self-sustaining house, not only do you self-sustain yourself, but you send energy back into the grid so that you know, gas, like natural gases need to be fracked to maintain electricity demands. Right. So I think like that's where the individual, I've talked about this like with Sergio, like where if everyone had just chipped in and like gets the solar panels for their house, like makes the investment, you know, because it's expensive, it's not cheap.
I guess it's like it's almost like a hive mentality, right? Like if everybody else gets it, then like it works better if the more people have it, right? Like because if those generators are generating electricity and only 75% of that electricity is being used, 25% could be, you know,
brought to other grids, other
homes, and you know, like it's just like a roll. It could just roll and tumble on its own and just get bigger and bigger.
Something I think that's really cool that I read somewhere is like we could potentially have a world grid. So like right now, every country has their own electricity grid, right? But if we were really smart, like if we were like a really advanced human race, we'd have one grid.
Definitely.
And it'd be one of those things where in an ideal world, we'd be powering with like nuclear fission, right? Or fusion, fusion, I believe, right? Fusion is the one we have. Yeah. Nuclear fusion. Like that's what the sun is. Like the sun is a nuclear fusion reactor, which is why it's such an efficient piece of energy. So like if we had like a world grid, or let's pretend like even without nuclear fusion, you could do it with like solar panels, I imagine, right? And like now you're powering like every country, but it'd be like for cents. This energy would be free, essentially.
True. I mean, I guess, but that's,
and like
that's
oil then would be like pretty obsolete besides for cars and stuff. But then again, you'd be driving electrical cars, so it's like there would really be no practical use for oil.
That sounds like a pretty big risk.
Oh, the undertaking to do something like that, the infrastructure, we'd have to lay lines across the Pacific Ocean. Like, do you understand what like that would entail?
One pipe breaks. Like one megalodon shark just like nibbles at it. Next thing you know, like everybody
has no power,
and
someone has to go fight the megalodon.
Come on, dude,
to fix the world. Like... That'd be like a Dwayne the Rock Johnson movie
for real.
Journey to the bottom of the Pacific Ocean.
You know what? We got to find a screenwriter for that one.
That'd be hilarious.
I know someone wants that idea. Definitely.
It'd be like that movie, like Pacific Rim.
Yeah, bro, I actually enjoyed that movie.
I hated that movie.
Something about like just like underwater mysteries just like really gets me because like no one knows what the fuck's down there. Like what we've only explored like maybe like 5% of the ocean.
A cool fact is we know more about Venus's topography than we do about the ocean floor topography.
Exactly. Like what does that tell you, man? Like
we don't know anything about the ocean. It's a very new science. Like apparently oceanography, like it started in like the 60s because we needed this technology to do it. So it takes years to develop not only the stuff that like is accurate, but like to even scan the ocean floor. Like the ocean is huge. Like
you ever to get that deep down there too?
You ever turn like a globe to one side and seen just the size of the Pacific Ocean?
Oh yeah,
it's mind blowing.
Yeah, it's huge, and I feel like it's not even represented on the globe accurately enough. I feel like it's a lot bigger.
Seriously, to think people like used to like boat across it with no
like
technology.
Isn't 75% of our surface area just water?
I think so.
So, like, on the globes, it never looks like that. It always looks like it's pretty much like 50-50. Like, there's 50% of water, 50% of land.
You turn it around the Pacific Ocean, and you soon realize where it all is. It's nuts. Something I thought was cool is, like, Elon Musk put on Twitter that, like, he put up Mars topography, like, what Mars looks like right now. And he says this is where a future ocean could be on Mars. Like, if we bring greenery to Mars and bring water, like, bring the whole process of... And that blew my mind because I was like, yo, like this man is planning to bring an ocean to a planet that has no ocean. I was like,
yeah, dude, he's
Literally the GOAT, bro.
He's 10 steps ahead of like a lot of people, man. Like people don't realize.
I'm so thankful that guy's existing.
Like, yeah, no, for sure. Like imagine if we didn't have an Elon Musk, we would only have a Jeff Bezos.
It's funny because they like compete against each other.
Yeah, they do.
Did you see that he founded that company Blue Origins and they're a direct competitor to SpaceX?
I think they're doing pretty well.
They are. I mean, the guy just spends billions of dollars on making it work.
Yeah, and I think he's definitely a lot more risky than Elon is, even though Elon is known to take like a lot of risks.
I mean, I think, dude, the thing that blew my mind with SpaceX was when they landed those twin boosters at the same time.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that was literally something they're going to look at 300 years from now and be like, that was the moment.
Yeah.
You know, like,
but they're also going to look at it and be like, what the fuck was that bullshit?
Oh, for real? They're like, I can't believe that took him, X amount of time. Right? It was going to be like...
Because you look at it and it's like, if I'm being just like ignorant about it for a second and not taking into account all the hard work that takes, I would be like, bro, we should have been doing this shit like 20 years ago. like what? You're telling me that rockets can't land themselves? Like,
well, that was the whole thing. Like, we didn't even, because first of all, like when we were sending them up to like the moon and stuff, we had no intentions of bringing them back because it was just like throw it out into outer space.
Yeah, it's just like who gives a fuck, right? No one's regulating.
But yeah, then Elon, and the thing about that is that's a huge waste of money. And so Elon Musk was like, if I want to like create a company that like will run itself, it was like, I'm going to need to like maintain, like I can't throw away the $1 billion rocket,
Yeah, exactly.
But dude, my favorite thing about that is it's not like he tried once and nailed it. There are so many videos of SpaceX rockets trying to land and they get so close and the wind takes it and it falls over and the $1 billion rocket explodes in the middle of the ocean.
Straight up, yeah.
And you have to sit there and be like, damn, like that, like so many people did not want that to happen and it still happened. Yeah. And then the idea they were able to calculate, and it was the same time too. Like that's so like the engineering to that is just unbelievable.
It is unbelievable, man. Sometimes I lay in bed
to think that there's math there though.
I think about like how people even like begin these thought processes to be able to implement them into like code.
All of it, man.
It's like, dude, I don't even know what I'm gonna do tomorrow for breakfast, right? Like it's just crazy. People are crazy. Humans are crazy, and I feel like we're not doing as good as we should be this year, or like just in the past couple years, based off of like how advanced we are and how smart we actually are. Like,
so I think Corona actually really helped us though, in a weird way. Like obviously it was a huge issue and hundreds of thousands of people are now dead, like millions dead around the world. I think maybe, I don't know if it's claimed 1 million people yet, but it's clearly obviously a very bad situation, but there has been some good. Like for example, like we've seen, like imagine if this had happened in the 90s and like they had to put school online. That would have been an insane undertaking,
impossible.
Literally impossible. But now it's like it was almost, I mean obviously it wasn't perfect for everyone, but like the idea that it could maybe be it happened. Like we're all struggling here now, so it's like it's one of those things where like now maybe in like 50 years we'll look back at it and be like, like now you'll have the option between online school or going in person. Like there will be institutions that are all online.
I feel like it's, I agree with you, it has been beneficial, but I feel like
beneficial as in like it forced us to adapt and overcome. Right. Not like, there's no negatives. Like clearly there's 100, but like I'm just saying there's things that we can like cheer about.
And I feel like this was a pretty big learning experience. Like even though we haven't finished the learning experience overall, like I feel like this was more so a pretty big learning experience on how not to behave.
150%. Yeah, I think we learned a lot from this though.
We could have done a lot better, but since we didn't do a lot better, like we have to adapt now. And, it is what it is. I definitely think it was a big wake-up call for sure. And it's going to definitely change a lot of factors for the next decade.
I think it's going to do a lot for AI. Like, for example, a lot of people lost their jobs, obviously, and a lot of those jobs aren't coming back. And it's not jobs like, waiters and waitresses, because not yet can a robot do those jobs efficiently and, obviously in a consumer-friendly way.
Right.
But a job like a bank teller, what if the bank decides, hey, we're gonna minimize our hours and we're going to start implementing like electronic bank tellers, like ones where like you could theoretically have no person help you open up a checking account at the bank, but then maybe there's a supervisor helping 3 people do it at the same time. Whereas normally that would have been 3 workers with 3 customers.
You walk into banks and you already see that now. Like if I go into my Wells Fargo bank and there's no teller available, I can literally walk up to this like machine that allows me to basically do anything else I would do with the teller. You know, because
see, like it already, there you go.
Because at ATM, you're kind of limited, right? You're only allowed to get like $100 worth of money or like whatever percentage they're allowing you to pull out. But if you go to one of those machines that's like inside the bank next to the teller, but it's not really the teller, you can pull out whatever X amount of money you want. There's no limit. You can close your account. You can open up an account. You can open up a new savings account, you know? So that's already happening.
Yeah, definitely. And that's a good point you brought up. Like it's not the future, like it's now. It's tomorrow. It's today. Like, and I think there's like real, you know, there's definitely real world consequences to that type of stuff. Like now there's someone who needs another job.
Right.
And it's like we're not providing the safety net that person needs.
Well, definitely, yeah. I mean, like
it's like the bank, and we've already said this, like the banks already make plenty of money. So like them saving money on one employee, like where does that go? It's to the shareholder. So it's like we have to find ways to make sure that people aren't left behind in the AI revolution, because like something like Andrew Yang talked about, which I love him for, was like he brought like a huge, you know, revelation of like, you know, automation that it's really going to become a problem for, it's for the working class person.
I mean, like people are pretty ignorant towards it. Like I have a cousin who does artificial intelligence, and he's an engineer, so he's basically worked on the traffic cameras the toll cameras that basically snap a picture of your car, your license plate, and your face when you're driving through a toll to bill you. So he's basically worked on programs as such, and that's all like AI. People used to sit at the toll and collect your coins and give you a receipt, and now it's all done through cameras and just like automation.
But the thing that should be noted is like that's better. Right? Because like now someone doesn't need to sit in a hot box for 8 hours a day to collect coins. Like we're liberating someone in a weird way. Like that was not a job that should need to be done.
But
especially if it can be done efficiently.
The thing is that like new jobs aren't being created that rapidly either. Like the thing is that like
we're losing more than we're gaining.
Technology is known to just benefit the economy in many ways, where like even it creates new jobs. You know, like for example, when the credit card reader came out, they were able to open up more registers and have more cashiers, right? Because the process is quicker now, right? And like now technology is increasing in a way where like it's not really benefiting jobs. It's not really creating jobs. Like in economics, like anytime there's a technological revolution, like it's a good thing. It might create jobs, and it's looked upon as a catalyst for more jobs coming into the market. But now it's like AI is the technology, you know? It's not like we're getting technology that helps people work more efficiently and more people get on board. It's more
a good example of that would be like when people used to take horses everywhere, but then the car came.
Right.
So now now there needs people to assemble the cars.
Right.
And like what's crazy is like we're seeing like now there won't be any factory workers.
Yeah.
Like I saw this thing that there's companies that like Toyota, they're developing, so they have already like they can assemble a Corolla in like 11 hours, something like
2 days,
that. Is it 2 days?
Less than 2 days.
I saw that they set a record for like 11 hours. If I'm not
probably.
Mistaken. But it's all these just, you know, it's arms, you know, those arms, and like they're these smart arms. So they're not just they're multivariate, like they go all over the place.
Yeah.
And so they would get loose and they would become, you know, they would need maintenance themselves, these arms, because they're just constantly doing so much work. They need to be greased, whatever else.
Definitely.
So they invented a machine to work on the machine.
Right.
So like where a human being would have had to tend to the machine, not anymore.
Right.
Now there'll be a human being tending to the machine that tends to the machine.
Right.
And then it's like you could just go full circle by just creating a group of machines that all work on each other. And it's like, and then there's no humans left in the factory, and there's just people who run the business side of it, right?
Exactly.
Like selling the cars. Yep. And even then, maybe like it's all turned online. Like you can buy a Tesla with Apple Pay. Yeah. You know, get it delivered to your house.
That's pretty insane.
Never talk to a car salesperson ever.
Yeah.
So the whole thing is that's why we gotta be prepared, man. Gotta like.
Yeah, you gotta have some plan A and then hopefully a plan B. Like, you know.
And a plan C, D, and E, and F. I mean.
Yeah. And then if all goes to shit, then just like I said, buy some acres, move on to a ranch. Live your slow life. Have some animals, maybe. I don't know. Some pigs.
What animals would you have out on your ranch?
Honestly, I would definitely have like a couple stallions.
You're a horse guy?
I'm not, but ever since I moved to West Palm, in specific Wellington, there's a lot of horse riding there.
True.
And I'm always seeing these like gigantic like built horses, and they just look so crazy. It's like, fuck a Lamborghini, I want a horse now.
They are magnificent animals.
Oh yeah, but they take a lot of money to like maintain.
For sure.
If you're buying a horse for $250,000, just know that you're gonna spend $100,000 to $75,000 a year just
easily
maintaining it.
Yeah.
And
it's worth it though, because it gives you satisfaction.
Oh yeah, they're such.
I definitely have some goats,
creatures. Yeah,
and some pigs.
Yeah,
and chickens, bro, for eggs.
I feel like I would have pigs, but pigs gross me out. They're just so like messy.
They're really smart though.
They are. That's why I would have them, because they're very smart. Like
they know their own names.
Right.
You know
yeah.
that? Like they're like dogs.
They're very sentient in that nature, and that's why I would have them. But like at the same time, they ate their own shit. You know, like,
well, they eat anything. That's kind of the thing.
Yeah, they don't have that receptor in their brain that tells them like, okay, I'm full.
Really?
So they continue to eat. And I think that's the same thing with Frenchies.
What is that?
Frenchies, like French bulldogs, like.
Oh, they have that too.
Yeah,
they overeat.
Yeah, they overeat. Yeah,
that's sad.
Yeah, it's just like a flaw, but to them, it's just all they want to do.
I definitely get in those moods though when I don't know when I'm full.
Yeah, I mean,
especially with Indian food.
Oh yeah, man.
Dude, with the naan bread, I'm just like
I'm not
getting
finished.
After it.
Yeah, I'm not finished until it's all done.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Oh, good on.
But yeah, I think this was a good convo.
I think so too, man. Is there anything else you want to cover? It was good having you in here today.
I think that's it. It was obviously my pleasure, like I said earlier.
Anything else you want to say to them?
Maybe see you guys again. Next time I'm on here, we could probably talk about some more stuff, some more whatever.
Yeah, excellent. I think we definitely taught a lot of people here some stuff today. Hopefully, at least, right?
Yeah. Maybe, hopefully, when we're looking back at it, it's not just like a bunch of like mumbo jumbo.
No, I think we had a good combo.
Yeah. Hope these guys enjoy the little piece that we have for them. Yeah.
All right, man. It was great having you in here today.
Of course. Thanks.